Arrested in Montreal and Toronto on Monday. Police said the men weren't Canadian citizens and had been supported by Al-Qaeda in Iran. James Malaysia from the Royal Canadian Mounted Police said the threat had not been imminent.
I want to reassure our citizens that while the RCMP believed the accused had the capacity and intent to carry out these criminal acts, there was no imminent threat to the general public, rail employees, train passengers, or infrastructure.
A woman's been robbed at knife point by 3 teenagers in Houghton Regis. Police are appealing for witnesses to the incident, which happened in the alleyway between Hillborough Crescent and Edywick Avenue. All 3 offenders were white and in their late teens. One had a scar on his cheek and spoke with an Irish accent. A waste company has signed up to be the operator of a new incinerator in Buckinghamshire. FCC Environment will build and operate the energy from waste plant near Calvert, which would power 36,000 homes. Paul Scoynes has the details.
The facility was agreed last year at a controversial planning meeting spanning 2 days. Buckinghamshire County Council says the facility will save the county £150 million over the life of the contract, and that any delay to the construction costs the council around £1 million a month in landfill taxes. However, any work on the facility won't begin until the result of a judicial review into the project is published, following protesters' concerns about the impact of the plant on the environment.
A St Albans family claims to have been forced to barricade itself into one room as its home is overrun by rats. The Silverman family are calling for the District Council to do more to help them after their first attempt at exterminating the pests failed. In sport, Manchester United are champions of England for the 20th time after they beat Aston Villa 3-0 at Old Trafford to regain the title with 4 games to spare. The weather dry with sunny spells and a top temperature of 18 degrees Celsius, that's 64 Fahrenheit. There's more news and sport online at bbc.co.uk/3 counties. BBC 3 Counties Radio, first for news.
Happy St George's Day, Catherine Boyle.
Well, happy St George's Day to you.
And what will you be doing to celebrate the SGD?
I've been doing a bit of moaning about the weather and queuing up.
Fantastic. Very English. Morning, this is Iain Lee, BBC 3 Counties Radio. It is St George's Day. One quick question, OK? Yes or no answer. Are you bothered by it? We always hear every year, and there'll be some people today going, oh, we don't get enough done for St George. We have St Paddy's Day, we don't get enough done for St George's Day. I only knew it was St George's Day, 2.5 minutes ago. Are you bothered by St George's Day? Are you doing anything to celebrate? Or do you think, oh, for goodness sakes, come on. It's just a Tuesday. 08459 455 555. Other bits and pieces on the show this morning include... A Bedfordshire mum is angry that her son, who has autism, will have to receive care 2 hours away because she says there's nowhere in Luton for him to go. We'll hear her story and find out why she's not the only one going through this. And do you remember a few weeks ago, this is brilliant, we told you that almost 300 people had been fined for driving through a bus lane in Bedfordshire that's only 33 foot long. That was a month ago. Well, guess what? Loads more have been caught. And I mean loads more have been caught. Do you think they're just stupid? Or is the council using it as a cash cow? And we'll hear why a rat problem has got so bad for a St Albans family that they barricade themselves in their bedroom. Terrible story. Lots of ways to get in touch. We'll put a picture of the bus lane up on the Facebook page if you want. Facebook.com/BBC3CR. You can send me an email, ian.lee@bbc.co.uk. Or you can give me a call, 08459 455 555.
BBC 3 Counties Radio.
Now, a Bedfordshire autism charity says Luton Borough Council are not providing adequate services for children and young adults with autism. Chair of Autism Bedfordshire, Lainey Miller, says her 16-year-old son, Tony, who is on the severe end of the autistic spectrum, will have to live over 2 hours away because there isn't anywhere nearby that meets his needs. She says other families in the area are also suffering from the same problem and are having to home their children in places as far away as Devon and Norfolk. Well, we can speak now to Tom Purser, who is the Policy and Participation Officer for the National Autistic Society for Central England, which covers Bedfordshire. Morning, Tom.
Morning.
Tom, some people with autism are able to live relatively independent lives, but others might have learning disabilities and need a lifetime of specialist support. How does the spectrum work? What are the kind of two extremes?
Well, we like to think of it more as a continuum where everyone's somewhere on the spectrum, and what that really means is that everyone with autism, they can have very different needs, they can have very different care requirements, they may have an IQ in the average to above average range, or they may have an associated learning disability. But what it really means is that the support that every person with autism needs to be adapted appropriately for them. So that's why it's really important that there are the services available to do that.
And with cases like Tony, for example, their autism can be so severe that it's better if they live elsewhere.
It can be the case that some people with autism can live relatively everyday lives, but others will require that lifetime of really specialist support, and sometimes that support can only be provided in a residential setting, and so that means people who are specially trained and actually able to provide that round-the-clock support is what that person might need.
How does the care that's required change as the children get older?
Well, that very much depends on the child's individual needs, but actually what a lot of parents tell us is that when they go from being children to adults, there can often be a real, they describe it a bit like falling off a cliff edge, because it can be the case that throughout childhood there could be some quite good support, especially if it's through specialist schooling or things like that, but actually when they reach that adult stage, there can often be, for parents, the experience of suddenly finding there's nothing there for them. So local authorities should be making plans for these children. They have a duty to be doing it, but actually too few, even today, are doing it. Only just over half of teenagers who have a statement of special educational need and have autism actually receive that plan. So parents finding it very difficult when their children go from being children to the adult world.
Now, Lainey Miller, who we'll be speaking to later on, says that there's nowhere in Luton to help her with her son Tony, and the nearest place is 2 hours away. Is that common, Tom? Are there a lack of support facilities?
Well, I can't really comment on Luton specifically because I don't really know the detail of the picture there, but we do hear a range of experiences from local people. Some have very positive experiences of accessing support, and that can be in their local area. Others, sadly, are not so good, and we do hear of families having to look a very long way away from where they live to get that specialist support, because what parents want to see is that support that really works for their children, that meets their needs, delivered by staff that really understand them. And sadly, sometimes that isn't available where they live. We would like to see more of that happening and people being able to access the support locally.
And how hard must it be for a parent to have a child that has such severe autism that they have to send them away to live somewhere else? That must be awful. It must be a huge decision to make.
Absolutely. And I don't think it's ever an easy decision for a parent to be looking at residential care as an option. But the fact remains that some children and some adults with autism need that round-the-clock, 24-hour support delivered by those who've got the experience, who've got the training, and really, really understand them. And sometimes when parents have got their whole lives to live, they literally physically can't be doing 24-hour support. And as you say, when the behaviour is as severe as that, it can be very, very challenging, very difficult for parents to make that decision and to be having to look at residential care. But like I say, what parents want is that proper specialist support for their children, delivered by people that really understand autism, really understand their children, and sometimes they do accept that that's going to be the best place for them.
Tom Purser from the National Autistic Society for Central England, thank you very much. Luton Borough Council say they're not able to discuss individual cases such as this one, but they did say Luton has a range of service provision for disabled children, both in terms of residential services and services to support young people in the home. Those whose needs are highly specialist and cannot be met locally may be placed further afield in consultation with their parents and other professionals. 08459 455 555.
No more carefree laughter, silence ever after. Walking through an empty house, tears in my eyes. Here is where the story ends. This is goodbye. Knowing me, knowing you. There is nothing we can do. Knowing me, knowing you. We just have to face it this time. We're through. Breaking up is never easy, I know, but I had to go. Knowing me, knowing you, it's the best I can do. Memories, good days, bad days, they'll be with me always. In these old familiar rooms, children would play. Now there's only emptiness, nothing to say. Knowing me, knowing you, there is nothing we can do. Knowing me, knowing you, we just have to face it this time. We're through. Breaking up is never easy, I know, but I had to go. Knowing me, knowing you, it's the best I can do. Knowing me, knowing you, there is nothing we can do. Knowing me, knowing you, we just have to face it this time. We're through. Breaking up is never easy, I know, but I had to go. Knowing me, knowing you, it's the best I can do.
Morning, this is Iain Lee, BBC Three Counties Radio, 08459 455 555. Are you bothered by the fact it's St George's Day today? Does it excite you in the slightest? Will you be flying your flag proudly, or you just think, oh, for goodness sakes, come on. It's nothing. It's a load. Of course we ignore it because it's a load of old nonsense. 08459 455 555. 6:15. Travel news now. Alan Cowie.
Beds, Herts and Bucks travel.
BBC Three Counties Radio. Morning, looking good on the roads so far with no accidents or problems to report. Just a reminder that the M25 is down to 50 through the roadworks between junction 23, which is South Mims, and junction 25, the A10. Roadworks on the A41 at Kingswood, just near to Grendon Road, and there's work going on in St Albans on Hemel Hempstead Road at the junction with St Michael's Street. On the trains, we've got no major problems. Alan Cowie, BBC Three Counties Radio.
Thank you, Alan. Right, it's nearly 6:16. It's Tuesday, the 23rd of April. I'm Iain Lee, and these are your headlines on BBC Three Counties Radio. A charity is accusing Luton Borough Council of failing to provide adequate services for young people with autism. A woman has been robbed at knife point by 3 teenagers in Houghton Regis. In sport, Manchester United are champions of England for the 20th time. They beat Aston Villa 3-0 to regain the title with 4 games to spare. The weather today for Beds, Herts and Bucks, dry with sunny spells and a top temperature of 18 degrees. Coming up before 7, we'll hear why a rat problem has got so bad for a St Albans family that they've barricaded themselves in their bedroom. 08459 455 555.
BBC Three Counties Radio.
Next month, voters in Buckinghamshire go to the polls to elect their county councils.
And BBC Three Counties Radio is holding a series of debates with the leaders of the parties hoping to get your vote.
We'll discuss the key issues affecting residents and get answers from the leaders.
And we want you to be involved.
On Thursday, join Roberto Peroni in Aylesbury at the St Mary the Virgin Church
For a question time debate all about Buckinghamshire.
For more information, visit our Facebook page, facebook.com/BBC3CR.
Come along, have your say and question the leaders.
Or listen live from 3.
Roberto Peroni, weekdays from 3 on BBC Three Counties Radio.
You won't find him drinking at the table, rolling dice or staying out till 3. You won't ever find him being unfaithful. You'll find him next to me.
I went and saw Emily Sandé in concert a couple of weeks ago, and I did something I think I've only done once. We left early to avoid the rush. I know, so I missed her singing that song. The only song of hers I know, I missed it. My wife's like, "Shall we go?" "This is a Christmas present I bought you." "Yeah, it's going to get a bit busy." So we went. The only other time I've walked out of a concert was the Beach Boys, because they were flipping awful. This wasn't when Brian Wilson was with them. This was another date when he wasn't there, and they were murdering Good Vibrations, and I said, I can't do this. It's killing me inside. Let's go. Now, a family from St Albans who've had to barricade themselves into their bedroom after rats overran their home say they feel let down by the district council. Pregnant Laura Jane Silverman, her husband Alessio and their 2-year-old daughter Phoebe moved into their new home in Holywell Hill last July. Since then, they've spent all their savings trying to get rid of the rats that they didn't know were there. Our reporter Sophie Solaria has been down to visit Laura Jane and her husband at their home in St Albans.
We moved in last year, and then a few weeks later we went on holiday, came back, and the whole place was just infested. So there were droppings everywhere in Phoebe's cot. Basically made themselves at home while we'd been away. So when we first moved in, all of this was carpeted. It looked really nice, actually. It was all in quite good order. But because the rats had gone underneath the floors, they'd basically just destroyed the fabric. There were holes everywhere, even in the brickwork. And actually, having spoken to the council and got a report done, we found out that the rats had actually been there for up to 14 years. So you can imagine the damage that they'd done. So basically we had to rip out all of the carpeting and pull up the floorboards, and we got a builder in and a pest control guy just to reseal all around the flooring.
Here's some holes in your tiling. You've got some gaps there as well, and that's just from the rats.
Yes, with rats you have to get to the root of it and understand where they're coming from. And although we've done substantial refurbishment, we've been chasing the source for months now.
Where are they now, may I ask?
At the moment they're in the ceiling, so here in the kitchen.
Of the kitchen?
Yeah. One evening my parents were babysitting and smoke started coming through the one of the lights in the kitchen. They started going through all the wiring, so now there's no electricity in the kitchen here, so we can't use lighting. And actually the pest control guy that came over a few weeks ago said we were this far away from actually having a fire, so we've stopped using it. I mean, as you can see and as you said, there's a whole load of work to be done, but we've been recommended not to do anything until we find the source of where they're coming from.
And they are just above us here in the ceiling?
Yes. Probably between the ceiling and the roof.
We're all upstairs in the one bedroom at the moment. We're stuck in that bedroom. It's the only place where we don't think they can get.
Well, you say you barricade yourselves in the bedroom. Let's go upstairs and see where you hide.
This is the room.
This is the room that you all live in. Yeah. It's quite a small room, nice size for two, but with two plus a pregnant lady and a little baby in the corner cot. It seems a little bit small for you all, and I guess Phoebe wants her own room back, does she?
Yeah, and we'd like her to have her own room as well at this point. She's 2, and as did the other one's coming soon. So we just want to get back to normality, really.
How do you barricade yourselves in?
Well, I basically shut that door, and then I usually get Alessio to put a load of towels or his dressing gown along the bottom. It's more because it's an old house, every single creak or noise, you think they're back again, and you just can't relax.
So it's had an emotional effect on you.
Yeah, so the news went out in the local papers, and we've had so many notes and phone calls and emails from people who've been in exactly the same situation. It's been amazing, because we thought it was just us, because the neighbours haven't had it at all, but actually it makes you realise the amount of people that got in touch afterwards that it is a real problem.
What about the council? What have they done for you?
Yeah, the council basically provide the minimal support, which is fine. I think knowing that there's so many people with this problem in St Albans, I think it's probably reasonable to expect them to maybe look into working out where the problem's coming from and what they can do about it on a greater scale. Essentially, it's our house, so we're responsible for it. But it would have been nice to know at the beginning how much they do. And basically, it's a short-term solution, so they put down poison. But as soon as that's gone, they just come back again. It's not a solution at all.
Oh dear. Well, we did invite St Albans City and District Council onto the programme. They declined, but Mike Lovelady, Head of Legal, Democratic and Regulatory Services, sent us this statement. He said, "We are aware of the situation in this case and we are working with our contractors to help deal with this issue. Our contractors have undertaken treatment at this property on several occasions and we visited the property to try and establish the underlying cause of the re-infestation. We will continue to investigate and are planning to visit the property again shortly." Oh, it's horrible, isn't it? I hate rats.
In this dirty old part of the city where the sun refused to shine, people tell me there ain't no use in trying. Now, my girl, you're so young and pretty, and one thing I know is true: you'll be dead before your time is due. I know. Watch my daddy in bed at night. Watch his hair been turning gray. He's been working and slaving his life away. Oh yes, I know. He's been working so hard. Mom been working too, baby. Every night and day. We gotta get out of this place. If it's the last thing we ever do, we gotta get out of this place. Girl, there's a better life for me and you. Now, my girl, you're so young and pretty, and one thing I know is true, yeah, you'll be dead before your time is due. Know it. Watch my daddy in bed at time. Watch his hair been a turning gray. He's been working and slaving his life away. I know he's been working so hard. I've been working too, baby. Every day, baby. We gotta get out of this place. If it's the last thing we ever do, we gotta get out of this place. Girl, there's a better life for me and you. Somewhere, baby. Somehow I know it, baby. We gotta get out of this place. If it's the last thing we ever do, we gotta get out of this place. Girl, there's a better life for me and you. Believe me, baby. I know it, baby. You know it too.
Morning, Iain Lee, BBC Three Counties Radio. Let's get the latest travel news now. Here's Alan Cowie.
Beds, Hearts and Bucks travel.
BBC Three Counties Radio.
Good morning. It's still quiet on the roads with no accidents or problems reported. The motorways should be clear for you right now. Roadworks at Fenny Stratford on the A5 at the Little Chef roundabout. Also work going on in St Albans on Hemel Hempstead Road at St Michael Street. And M25, it's down to 50 through the roadworks between Junction 23, South Mims and Junction 25, which is the A10. Narrow lanes as well. Keep an eye on that. It does generally get quite busy during the rush hour. We've got no problems reported on the trains. Alan Cowie, BBC Three Counties Radio.
Thank you, Alan. Coming up to 6:30, time for the news and sport now. Here's Catherine.
Getting beds, hearts and bugs talking.
This is BBC Three Counties Radio.
Good morning. The headlines are charities accusing Luton Borough Council of failing to provide adequate services for young people with autism. The surviving suspect in the Boston bombings has been charged with possessing a weapon of mass destruction. And police are looking for 3 teenagers who robbed a woman at knife point in Houghton Regis on Friday afternoon.
Beds, Beds, Hearts and Bucks Sport.
BBC Three Counties Radio.
Manchester United are champions of England for the 20th time.
We've had the 2 minutes of added time. Referee Taylor's looked at his watch, a second glance, blows his whistle, and Manchester United, for the 20th time overall, are deserved champions of England. Congratulations to them.
United beat Aston Villa 3-0 at Old Trafford to regain the title with 4 games to spare. The Football Association have charged Liverpool striker Luis Suarez with violent conduct after the biting incident with Chelsea's Branislav Ivanovic. It wasn't seen by the match officials, so it's been retrospectively reviewed. The Uruguayan has until 6 p.m. tonight to respond to the charge, and a decision on the length of his ban and fine will be made tomorrow. Suarez has accepted a fine imposed by Liverpool for what they called unacceptable behaviour. Mark Clattenburg will referee Chelsea's game against Swansea at Stamford Bridge on Sunday. It'll be the first time he's refereed a Chelsea game since being cleared of using racist language towards John Obi Mikel. In League Two, Wycombe Wanderers boss Gareth Ainsworth has spoken of his delight at signing a new 2-year deal yesterday. Ainsworth has lifted the Chairboys from the bottom to mid-table after becoming permanent manager this season, and he says now he's ready to take the next step.
I don't want it to be a flash in the pan. I don't want it to be just the passion and desire and the whirlwind effect that I had. I want actually to be known as a manager who's tactically aware, who can think about things, who can make a difference, and when it comes to it, get the point.
2 local teams trying to make the Southern Premier playoffs are in action tonight. Hemel Hempstead, who are 4th, are at leaders Leamington, and Arlesey are in 7th, and they're at Bedworth United. And that's your latest news and sport. More from me at 7 o'clock.
Across Beds, Hearts and Bucks, this is Iain Lee on BBC Three Counties Radio.
Morning. Lots coming up between now and 7, including... Do you remember that we told you almost 300 people have been fined for driving through a bus lane in Bedfordshire? It's tiny. It's 33 foot long. Well, that was a month ago. And guess what? Loads more. I mean, literally hundreds more people have been caught. Go to the Facebook page, facebook.com/BBC3CR. Have a look at the bus lane. We've printed this picture before. Are these people just idiots for doing this? Or is this the council being a little bit sneaky and making a few quid? Facebook.com/BBC3CR. And it's St George's Day. Did you know? I didn't until 5 minutes to 6. Are you doing anything to celebrate? The Prime Minister has hailed the growing popularity of the celebration of England's patron saint. Are you bothered by it in the slightest, or do you think, oh, for goodness sakes, I've got far better things to be interested in? 08459 455 555. Coming up after me at 9 o'clock, it's the JVS show. From 11, Jonathan tackles your consumer problems, and today it's the case of Andrea. Her fence fell down a few months ago, but no one seems to know whose responsibility it is. Can Jonathan get to the bottom of it? Yeah, probably. He's good at things like that. That's from Jonathan Vernon-Smith from 9 o'clock. But coming up after the Genesis, we're going to speak to Justin Dealey about this bus lane. Some people are just so stupid, aren't they?
All that time I was searching, nowhere to run to. It started me thinking, wondering what I could make of my life, and who'd be waiting, asking all kinds of questions to myself, but never finding the answers. Crying at the top of my voice, no one listening. All this time, I still remember everything you said. There's so much you promised. How could I ever forget? Listen, you know I love you, but I just can't take this. You know I love you, but I'm playing for keeps. Although I need you, I'm not gonna make this. You know I want to, but I'm in too deep. So listen to me. Oh, you must believe me. I can feel your eyes go through me, but I don't know why. Oh, I know you're going, but I can't believe it's the way that you're leaving. It's like we never knew each other at all.
Right, bored of that now. Morning, it was going on a bit. We had plenty of it. It was just 4 minutes of it. Morning, this is Iain Lee, BBC Three Counties Radio. The reason I'm dashing forward is because I want to wish a colleague of mine happy St George's Day, Justin D. Lee.
Thank you, Ian. Thank you very much. I was quite enjoying Genesis.
No, well, there's another 12 seconds. There we go. You can have that.
Oh, taking off the album Invisible Touch. Oh, the 1980s. Love it.
Happy St George's Day to you, my friend.
And to yourself.
Now, but we'll talk about St George's Day a little bit later on. This story that I think is wonderful, and I'm not quite sure what I make of it. This is the bus lane that we talked about last month.
Yeah.
Bus lane in Wixham's in Bedfordshire, only 33 foot long. If you drive down it, what's the fine, Justin?
The fine is £50.
£50. The first 2 weeks, the cameras went up. Just under 300 people were caught. Well, you're down there now this morning, Justin, aren't you? There's been a development.
Yeah, there has been a development. I mean, incredibly, when we spoke about this a few weeks ago, we did lots of features on this. The local newspapers did features on it, and also the Daily Mail did a 2-page spread on this as well. So you would think the message would be out there. So in the first 2 weeks, 300 people were fined. Since then, and we're talking 4 weeks on here, a further 655 motorists have been fined using this bus lane. Now, some people may say, well, some bus lanes not that obvious. I'm just going to be completely honest this morning. It's the most obvious bus lane I've ever seen in my life. It may be small, it may be 33 foot, but the signs are there.
Describe what you can see, Justin.
Well, the signs are there at the side of the road, which clearly say bus lane cameras. And then on the road itself, it's marked red, and you'll see in white writing, it says bus lane.
Okay,
seriously,
so it says bus
it's
lane.
the most obvious bus lane I've ever seen.
Let me
But
just
people
direct
keep on getting caught.
Let me just direct the listener to facebook.com/BBC3CR. We have a picture there. In case you think Justin is over-egging this pudding, go and have a look. It is obviously a bus lane. There's no two ways about it.
Yep, it's on the Wixham's estate near Wilstead. So what's happening is people need to drive on the A6 to avoid this bus lane. And again, when we spoke about it 4 weeks ago, some people said the diversion route was unfair. I did that myself. It took me just over a minute. The diversion route is the difference between one roundabout to the next roundabout, and that's about it, Ian.
You were there helping people last time, weren't you? You were saving people money.
I was stood in the middle of the road and...
I hope you filled out a health and safety form.
Yes, I did. I was wearing a fluorescent jacket.
Good.
And I was stopping motorists to advise them about this bus lane camera which had just been activated. So it was an interesting morning, and this is what happened when I spoke to those motorists. Caroline, I've just jumped out into the middle of the road. I've risked my life. I've saved you a few quid. You're about to go through that bus lane camera. You've seen the signs now. How could you have missed it?
Well, I think really I just follow other people. Other people come down here and I just do what they do, really.
I mean, looking at the signs, it says bus only as well. Do you, looking at that, and I'm not trying to make you feel stupid here,
No.
but looking at that now, do you almost feel a bit silly because you very nearly went through it and you would have gone through it had I not stopped you?
Well, yes, yeah, I do, because obviously they're there and you can see them.
Yeah.
But I suppose, as I say, it's just something I do because other people do it.
Yeah.
And, I've done it for quite a long time, really.
Well, 300 people have been fined in the last 2 weeks, so that won't surprise you. Now I've saved you that fine/penalty. When are you going to take me out for a drink?
Oh, I don't know about that.
Oh, thank you. Right, I won't stop you again. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your help. Thank you for saving me some money.
Now, Adam, earlier you drove through the bus lane cameras. I tried to stop you, but we were live on air at the time. I mean, looking at that now, it says bus only there, and it also says bus lane cameras. Are you looking at that thinking, how did I miss it?
Yeah, I am actually. Where are the cameras then?
The camera is just there. You can see the camera just there to our right-hand side, but it clearly says bus only. That's marked clearly on the road, and it says bus lane cameras. As somebody who does quite a bit of driving for a living, how could you miss it?
I don't know, honestly. I wasn't really looking at it. I was just coming down the lane by the way the sat-nav brought me, so... I was by the sat-nav brought me. I'm not from around here, so... I'm not turning around now.
Well, I was going to say, make sure you turn round. You don't want two fines in one day. I've saved you a few quid there.
I'm not turning around now, yeah.
Well, Justin, people are stupid, to be honest. I know that some people might say, well, this could be a cash cow that the council have got. Well, they've made about 50 grand, haven't they?
They have. It's a lot of money. It's a lot of money.
But it's so obvious. Some comments on Facebook. Steve says, you really have to be careful everywhere now. Cameras, it's the driver's own fault. Not that I agree with such sneaky, underhand methods of revenue collection. Well, is it sneaky?
you see, from what I've seen, and again, people can make their own minds up this morning when they see those photographs, because, you know, from what I see, it's not sneaky. It's just so clear. It may be small, but the signs are there. It's marked on the road. The diversion is a minute and a half. From what I've seen, it's not sneaky. It's just people, like that lady says, well, I just follow the crowd. Other people come down here. Well, that doesn't make it right. Somebody else saying, well, I just followed the sat-nav. That,
yeah.
again, that doesn't make it right. But nearly 1,000 people in 6 weeks. It's earning so much money. And again, hopefully today, we can advise people that these bus lane cameras, they are switched on, and if you drive through the bus lane, you will be fined £50.
People who follow the sat-navs and just depend on them completely deserve everything they get.
But that man, he drives for a living. He drives up and down the country. He uses his sat-nav all the time, but using a sat-nav obviously is going to get you from A to B, but things do change. That bus lane has been there for a while, yes, but the cameras have only been switched on in the last 6 weeks. A sat-nav, of course, it won't tell you that, Ian. You're still going to get fined.
We'll be speaking to Bedford Borough Council a little bit later on the show. Very quickly, Justin, St George's Day,
Yes.
does that mean anything to you?
Oh, it means a lot to me, absolutely. If I'm going to live in this country, I want to feel proud to be English, and later I'll be going out for an English. Hopefully, you might be joining me.
Oh, that sounds very nice. Are you paying?
Maybe, yes.
Yeah, there we go. You see, then suddenly the caveats come into this. No. Justin Dilly, thank you very much indeed. It is St George's Day. Does it mean anything to you? Every year you kind of get rumblings, don't you? And moanings from people. We don't celebrate St George's Day. We're not proud to be English. Well, I didn't even know it was St George's Day until 47 minutes ago. St George's Day, does it mean anything to you? Are you bothered by it in the slightest? 08459 455 555 is the telephone number if you want to give me a call, or you can text me 81333. Start your text 3CR. Put your name on, please. Otherwise I won't read it out. Travel news now. Here's Alan Cowie.
Beds, Hearts and Bucks travel.
BBC Three Counties Radio.
Yeah, not looking too bad on the roads. We've got no accidents or problems reported. The M1 should be a clear run for you right now. As for the A1M, traffic seems to be flowing well. M25 building up a little bit, nothing unusual though. Anti-clockwise around junction 21, the M1 getting busy, and also anti-clockwise around junction 16, which is the M40. But traffic is moving, but no accidents or problems. Good service on all train lines as well. Alan Cowie, BBC Three Counties Radio.
Alan, thank you very much. Right, 6:45. I'm Iain Lee, and these are your headlines on BBC Three Counties Radio. A charity is accusing Luton Borough Council of failing to provide adequate services for young people with autism. Police are looking for 3 teenagers who robbed a woman at knife point in Houghton Regis on Friday. In sport, Manchester United are the champions of England for the 20th time after a 3-0 win over Aston Villa at Old Trafford wrapped up the title with 4 games to spare. Coming up, St George's Day. Does it mean anything to you? 08459 455 555. Before we talk about that, though, here's the weather with Kate Kinsella.
Beds, Hearts and Bucks weather.
BBC Three Counties Radio.
Thank you very much. Good morning. Well, if you are heading out, it's a beautiful start to the day. Plenty of sunshine around there at the moment, all across the 3 counties, but the cloud will start to increase as it did yesterday throughout this afternoon. Not saying that it's not going to be any sunshine, we're just going to get sunny spells. Temperatures outside at the moment ranging between 9 and 10 Celsius already, and they're set to climb. In fact, today, temperature-wise, it's looking very warm indeed. We're looking at a maximum temperature later on of around 18 Celsius. That's 64 degrees in Fahrenheit. It's going to feel a lot warmer if you're in a town, say Watford or Luton, for example. Things are going to feel a little warmer. Elsewhere, though, in the sunshine, it's really going to feel rather lovely in the light westerly wind. Now, overnight tonight, dry, some clear spells, but the cloud, like last night, will increase as we get towards dawn tomorrow morning. Temperature-wise, though, it's another mild night on the cards. 9 Celsius, that's 48 degrees in Fahrenheit. Outlook for tomorrow, looking cloudy. We'll get 1 or 2 holes in the cloud, though, bright and sunny spells, and temperatures just a little bit warmer, looking at a maximum of 19 Celsius, that's 66 degrees in Fahrenheit, and that's your forecast.
Thank you very much.
I came, I saw, taught
Are you ready?
Yeah.
Here he comes. Move to him. Stay with him. Bang.
Oh, look at it! Yes! Oh.
I've trained a killer. Come on.
You feeling good? You hit it?
I'm feeling really butch.
Tackling your consumer problems.
Sylvie wasn't happy with the quality of her telephone line. Kate's having problems with her leaky garage roof.
The JVS Show.
5 times they've not turned up for the appointment. I've still got the leak, which is obviously getting worse.
Fighting for your rights.
I went to speak to your telephone company and I said, look, what on earth is going on?
The JVS Show.
Have they managed to fix the problem with the internet?
Yeah, it's quite fantastic. Absolutely wonderful. Really, it would not have happened without your intervention.
If you have a consumer problem,
We can do the same for you.
It took one phone call from yourselves, whereas I've been trying for over 6 months.
The JVS Show. Weekday mornings from 9 on BBC Three Counties Radio.
Happy St George's Day! Yeah, no, I forgot as well. Sorry. Well, David Cameron has said he's equally proud to be English and British, and we should all celebrate St George's Day. Are you bothered by it in the slightest? Are you doing anything to celebrate it? If I'm honest, the phones haven't lit up with people saluting St George. Is that what you do? I'm guessing none of you care about it. Well, research shows that nearly 3/4 of the population want April the 23rd to be made a public holiday. Our reporter Justin Dealey has been out in Luton finding out if you know the importance of today.
Wayne, it's the 23rd of April.
Yep.
Any ideas what today means?
Today is St George's Day. It's also the birthday of William Shakespeare.
Well, you certainly know your stuff.
Which is also his death day as well, unfortunately. He died on his birthday, poor chap.
Are you bothered about St George's Day?
I feel that we should actually celebrate it more than what we do. So yes, I am.
We've seen a few flags up already, but do you think a lot of people will just forget about today and not even know what it is?
Yes, I do, unfortunately.
Does that make you feel quite sad?
Yes, it does, as an Englishman. I was glad to see that we did celebrate on Saturday in the town square, albeit on the wrong day, but there you go.
Well, here's Pam. Pam, it's the 23rd of April today. Why is today special?
St George's Day.
Fantastic. You know straight away, so you must be bothered then.
Yeah, I don't think we celebrate St George's Day enough.
So how will you be celebrating?
Well, street party maybe.
Really? A street party?
Yes. You know, St Patrick's do great things.
Yeah.
Anything for the kids. My granddaughter at the moment's at school. It's non-uniform day and they're dressing up in the period of St George.
I mean, clearly you care about this because you might be having a street party later on, the kids are celebrating.
Yeah.
Do you think more people should be celebrating? Because
Yes, I do.
It is a special day, isn't it?
Yes, I do. I think with us, because we're such a diverse town as well, we have lots of celebrations, then why not celebrate St George's? It's part of our history, so...
It was celebrated on Saturday, but as somebody just pointed out, that clearly was the wrong day.
Well, it was, because it's Tuesday, so...
And just lastly, you're proud to be English?
I certainly am proud to be English. Certainly am.
Madam, today is the 23rd of April. Why is today so significant?
George's Day.
And again, you know, everyone I'm talking to this morning knows...
We should celebrate it more than the Irish do. Their St Patrick's Day.
Does that make you angry that we don't?
It does, because we wouldn't be here if it wasn't for our granddads, dads and all that.
So your message would be to anybody listening to this today, go out and celebrate. It's once a year.
We should do.
Do you know a lot of people who haven't got a clue what today is all about?
No. A lot of people don't know the date today, what it is. It's not advertised enough.
So why do you know straight away? Is it something you keep in your diary?
No, 23rd of April sticks in your mind.
What's the thing that you're most proud about this country?
It's the men who fought for us to be here today, and they're forgotten about.
Well, are you bothered about St George's Day? That was a pretty good hit rate for Justin Dealey there, with people who knew what the day was. Someone's even going to be throwing a street party. Really? Emma's from Stevenage. Emma, did you know it was St George's Day?
Of course I did. I've been battling the dragon since Saturday.
And how have you been? Well, how have you been battling the? How have you been celebrating, Emma?
Well, every year we go to West Park, which is English Heritage, and we do St George's Day.
What do you mean you do St George's Day?
Well, we go and celebrate it. We go and watch the jousting. We go and the children go and watch the St George fighting the dragon.
Yeah.
It's the fun of it. It's a wonderful time of year. We've got our St George's flags up. The kids who are at Thatcher School are going in red, white and blue today, or if they're a Beaver, Cub, Scout or a Guide or a Brownie, they're all going in their uniforms.
Hang on a minute. Red, white or blue? But that's the Union flag.
Yeah, well...
It should be red and white.
We do, but what they're doing is they're all taking stuff in the school said if they could come in red, white and blue because the uniform's blue.
Oh, I see.
Add
Okay.
a bit of red and add
right.
a bit of red and white to it. And they're all taking in fun swords to do. And they're all pretending to go and fight the dragon this afternoon.
Hang on a minute, they're all taking in fun swords?
Yes, sponge.
Oh, sponge swords, okay.
Sponge swords. They can all go round the playground going, St George, yeah! And go and pretend to fight the dragon. They love it.
What? Well, just do that. What are they doing, Emma?
They're pretending to chase one of the teachers around the playground who's going to look, I think she's going to look like a dragon, and pretend to fight her.
And what do they say to her?
They say, on guard, or fire, or something. I don't know what the kids say. They're going to say, we're going to kill you.
Why do you think that we've kind of ignored St George's Day? The Irish, St Paddy's Day, they all go we all go bonkers for it, but St George's Day gets overlooked.
I think what it is us as a country don't appreciate St George. We should. I have a national holiday.
Yeah, it sounds like you
the
need one.
Irish do,
Yeah.
like the Scots do.
Yeah.
Why can't we have a national day? We're allowed one. I mean, the amount of people that don't bother, who don't realise what day it is, because it's not broadcast, it's not said on the news. Oh, it's St George's Day today. I mean, it will be today because it's the Queen's birthday as well today.
Yes.
But that's the only way people will realise, oh, it's St George today.
I'm doing, as it is the Queen's birthday, I'm doing the whole show to attention and saluting.
I bet you are. Are you standing up and saluting to the
I'm standing up and wearing my dress suit. Who's that in the background?
That is my son Toby practicing fighting the dragon.
How old is Toby?
He's coming up 7.
Would I be able to have a word with Toby?
Of course, hold on.
Thank you.
Toby, do you want to speak and say what you're doing? Say good morning. Who's it? Say it's Iain Lee. Say good morning. Hello.
Hello, Toby. How are you?
Good.
Are you celebrating St George's Day today? Yeah. Can I ask, what are you wearing?
Beaver's uniform.
Your Beaver's uniform?
Yeah.
And are you taking a sword into school?
Yeah.
What are you going to do with the sword?
Don't know.
Okay, are you going to bully a teacher?
Yeah.
You see, this is the Daily Mail will be on this. And, Toby, can I ask you, who was St George?
Saint.
Yeah, well done. I heard Mum in the background. Toby, have a fun day. Nice to talk to you. Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
There we go. Toby's celebrating. He's not quite sure why he's celebrating it, but he's celebrating it. He's taking a sword into school. Wowzers. Huh? 08459 455 555. Emma and Toby, they're very excited. It's St George's Day. I love that, him practising in the background. Wonderful. But does it mean anything to you? 08459 455 555. I didn't know it was St George's Day until an hour ago. Literally an hour ago. I got buzzed in my ear. Oh, you know it's St George's Day. Is it? Oh, means nothing to me. Should it? Am I letting the side down a bit by not being aware of it, by not waving a flag, by not doing whatever it is I'm supposed to do? 08459 455 555. St George's Day, what does it mean to you? Right, let's get the travel news, shall we now?
Herts and Bucks travel.
BBC Three Counties Radio.
Good morning. Well, there's roadworks in Beaconsfield on Park Lane, just near to the A40, the London Road. St John Street in Bedford has roadworks at Rope Walk. And the M25 looks pretty much as normal, anti-clockwise heavy. Junction 17, Maple Cross, round to 16, the M40. And anti-clockwise also very slow around Junction 21, which is the M1. But no accidents or problems reported. Good service on the trains as well. Alan Cowie, BBC Three Counties Radio.
Thank you very much, Alan. It's been pointed out to me, and I'm aware of this kind of history, that St George never set foot in England. He was Turkish. I heard he was Palestinian, but he certainly wasn't English. It's odd, isn't it, that our saint wasn't English. And somebody else on Twitter, Scott, has pointed out the lady in Justin's Vox who was celebrating St George's Day to remember the people who fought for us. Well, Scott says, you remember the people who fought for us on Remembrance Day. The clue is in the name, you stupid old sausage. Right, we'll discuss this some more after the news with Catherine.
It's Herts and Bucks talking.
This is BBC Three Counties Radio.
Good morning, it's 7 o'clock. The headlines: autism charity calls for more care in Bedfordshire, Boston suspect on WMD charge, and claims St Albans family is besieged by rats.
BBC Three Counties Radio.
The chair of Autism Bedfordshire is accusing Luton Borough Council of failing to provide adequate services for young people. Lainey Miller says a lack of residential facilities in the area means the nearest care home for her teenage son is in Norfolk. You can hear more on this story up next with Iain Lee. More details have emerged of the first court appearance of the surviving suspect in the Boston Marathon bombings. According to the legal transcript, during a short hearing in Dzhokhar Tsarnaev's hospital room, he was able to speak once, appeared lucid and was able to understand what was going on. Canadian police say they've foiled a plot to derail a passenger train near Toronto, the country's biggest city. 2 non-Canadians have been charged with terrorism-related offences. Our correspondent in Washington, Jane Little, gave more details.
It's noted they're not Canadian citizens. The authorities did not release where they are from, but said they'd clearly been plotting it for some time. The authorities had been following them for a year. As they said, no imminent danger. But the most striking thing is the accusation, the allegation that Al-Qaeda elements located in Iran were guiding this.
Back home, a waste company has signed up to be operators of a new incinerator in Buckinghamshire. FCC Environment will build and operate the energy from waste plant near Calvert, which would power 36,000 homes. A St Albans family say they've been forced to barricade themselves into one room in their home as it's being overrun by rats. The Silvermans are calling for the District Council to do more to help them after a previous attempt at exterminating the pests failed. Laura Jane Silverman says they had no idea the house was already occupied when they moved in.
When we first moved in, it was all in quite good order, but because the rats had gone underneath the floors, they'd basically just destroyed the fabric. There were holes everywhere, even in the brickwork, and actually, having spoken to the council and got a report done, we found out that the rats had actually been there for up to 14 years.
It's clearly signposted, it's been in the Daily Mail and our reporters even been pointing it out in person, but hundreds of people are still being fined for driving in a Bedfordshire bus lane. In the last fortnight alone, 300 motorists have been caught on camera at Wixham's off the A6 near Wilstead, and these people might be getting an unwelcome letter in the next couple of weeks too.
Well, I think really I just follow other people. Other people come down here and I just do what they do, really.
I don't know, honestly. I wasn't really looking at it. I was just carrying down the lane by the way the sat-nav brought me, so I just by the sat-nav brought me. I'm not from around here, so I'm not turning around now.
It's just something I do because other people do it, and I've done it for quite a long time, really.
In sport, Manchester United are champions of England for the 20th time. Robin van Persie scored a hat-trick at Old Trafford as they beat Aston Villa 3-0 to regain the title with 4 games to spare. The weather dry with sunny spells and a top temperature of 18 degrees Celsius, that's 64 Fahrenheit. There's more news and sport online at bbc.co.uk/3 counties. BBC 3 Counties Radio, first for news.
Morning, this is Iain Lee, BBC 3 Counties Radio. 3 minutes past 7. It's, Tuesday? Something like that, the 23rd. It's St George's Day. Happy St George's Day. Are you fussed by it? Are you bothered? We had an excellent call just before the news from a mum and her 7-year-old son who are going to be celebrating. Are you doing anything to celebrate? Or do you think, oh, for goodness sakes, get over it? That's the only call we've had so far. 08459 455 555. Other things coming up between now and 8 o'clock include a Bedfordshire mum is angry that her son who has autism will have to receive care 2 hours away because she says there's nowhere in Luton for him to go. Well, she'll be joining me in the studio next. Do you remember we told you about a month ago that almost 300 people have been fined for driving through a bus lane in Bedfordshire that's only 33 foot long? Well, guess what? Loads more people have been caught. I mean, hundreds have been caught. Go to the Facebook page, facebook.com/BBC3CR. Have a look at a picture of the bus lane. Now, is the council being sneaky and using this to make a few quid? Or are people just idiots? And also we'll hear why a rat problem has got so bad for one St Albans family they have barricaded themselves in their bedroom. Facebook.com/BBC3CR or give me a call 08459 455 555.
BBC 3 Counties Radio.
Now, a Bedfordshire autism charity says Luton Borough Council are not providing adequate services for children and young adults with autism. Chair of Autism Bedfordshire, Lainey Miller, says her 16-year-old son, Tony, who's on the severe end of the autistic spectrum, will have to live over 2 hours away because there isn't anywhere nearby that meets his needs. She says other families in the area are also suffering from the same problem and are having to home their children in places as far away as Devon and Norfolk. Well, Lainey joins me now. Morning, Lainey.
Morning.
Tell me about your son's autism. Explain the spectrum, the autism spectrum, and whereabouts he is on that.
If you imagine a rainbow, the autism spectrum is that of a rainbow. And at the top we have the high functioning and the Asperger's, and then we'll have the children that are in the middle, and then we have the severe end. And normally with the severe end of autism, that will become associated with severe learning disabilities and often ADHD, OCD, challenging behaviour and epilepsy. And Tony is on the severe end of that spectrum.
How does it affect his life day to day?
It affects his life that Tony is non-communicative in the sense that he will only say single syllable words. His communication is sometimes with symbols. He gets very confused. He can't cope with large crowds out in the community, and he's very much into a routine and structure every day.
The routine is a big thing, isn't it?
Yes, it's a massive thing.
And if you break that routine, it can be terribly upsetting.
Yeah, it gets very, very distressing for them, and they can't cope because their brain doesn't work like our brain, and he just can't manage.
When did you first think, hang on a second, something's not quite right with my boy?
I realised something was wrong with Tony when he was probably about 6-7 months old.
Right.
You know, he wasn't displaying the signs of a baby. He wouldn't pick up toys. He wouldn't play as my other two children had done. And I thought then something's not quite right. So I just kept monitoring it. And around about the 12, 13 month mark, I lost the eye contact. And that's another classic sign, is the eye contact. And I was actually working in an autistic unit with adults at that time. And Tony started to flap his hands and display behaviour that the people I worked with. So I picked it up very, very quickly, and he was diagnosed early.
He was diagnosed early on. Now, he needs round-the-clock care, doesn't he?
24-hour care, yeah.
Have you been providing that care up until now?
I've been providing that care up until Tony was 15.
Right.
I had a support worker, a direct payment worker, Anna Orsini, and she used to come and support me. That was provided by social services, where she would come and stay at my house every other weekend and support me with Tony. Just give me some respite and some time out. I mean, it's a good service that family can get some kind of normality. But at 15, it was decided that Tony was becoming so unmanageable, I was getting very tired, that it was time to place Tony.
How did you cope? You say you got two other kids.
Yes.
How did you cope with... Did the other kids get ignored slightly?
They don't get ignored, but they do have to sacrifice an awful lot, because obviously that child, you know, demands so much attention that, you know, you could become very tired. Family days out could get ruined, because if we went to, say, Legoland for the day, we could be a quarter of a way around the park, and Tony would get very, very distressed because the volume of the people, the noise, the crowd. He'd start to scream and cry to go home. And more often I would have to go out into the car park while Dad would carry on going around with the other two. And, you know, things like family meals out, family weddings. We didn't go to weddings together as a family. We didn't go to christenings. You know, we didn't go to, you know, Auntie Nellie's 80th. Whatever family celebration there was, we couldn't go as a family. Someone would have to stay at home.
Was there any resentment from the other kids? And it's not a criticism of them. I'm sure it would be a natural
Our children, our siblings sacrifice so much when you have a child with a disability, irrespective what that disability is, whether it's Down syndrome or cerebral palsy, that, you know, they become accustomed to the fact that they do have to sacrifice so much. And as they get older, yes, there is resentment, you know, but you'll find that our siblings will tend to bottle that in, and that's where sibling support groups come in and help children with, you know, siblings to actually say, come and talk to us about it, because they don't want to, you know, moan at mum and dad. They know, they can see that mum and dad's got enough to cope with, and, you know, it is very, very, very hard on the family.
How hard was the decision to put Tony into residential care?
It's the hardest decision a parent will ever have to make. The only way that I can describe that is the fact that, you know, we all go through life. I've buried my parents, you know, I've been through divorce, and the pain of having to actually place him somewhere, to hand your child over to somebody to say, look after him like I do and love him like I do. There is no pain equates that. No pain at all.
And I can understand that. I've had to put my mum in a home. Slightly different situation, but just there might be some people listening and think, well, hang on a minute, you're his mum. It's your job.
Yeah, well, when you get to the stage that, you know, 24-hour care, you hit a wall that actually you can't go on. And Tony was at an age where he started, whereas before we'd go to Wardown Park and we'd go swimming together, and his direct payment work would go with him, and I would take him out the other weekend. It got to the stage where Tony wouldn't go out with me. He was 15, and he couldn't say to me, I don't want to go to the park with you,
No
Mum.
15-year-old wants to go out with their mum at all.
Exactly. And he would just refuse. I would drive to the park at Wardown, come on, we'll feed the ducks, I've got a bag of bread, let's go. And he'd go, no, and he wouldn't get out the car.
There are some residential centres in Bedfordshire. Why can't he go to those?
So a lot of those are full.
Right.
And some of those, Tony, is not compatible. When you're looking at a residential setting, you have to look at the people that are already living there, or, the dynamics of the group. And if he's not compatible, then he can't go in. Tony's a noisy boy. He likes to have the headphones on and he likes to play on YouTube. He watches Barney and CBeebies, Teletubbies, all because mentally he's about 3. And that's what he does. And he jumps up and flaps around. And if you've got an autistic person that doesn't like noise, then they can't live together. It's just not going to work.
So where is the nearest place he could go then?
Well, when it came to looking at provision, I have looked at Northampton, I've looked at Lincolnshire, I've looked at Kent, I've looked at Southampton, and I've looked at Norfolk, because there's nowhere in Luton, Central Beds or Bedfordshire that could really cater for his needs.
What do you want? I'm going to ask a question, okay? Are you being too fussy?
No. What parents want in this town is that Luton is a hotspot for autism, and there's no denying that. Children's services are bursting with children that are autistic, and not just autistic, but Down syndrome, cerebral palsy. We have a really high ratio of disabled children, and our 2 special schools in Luton clearly state that when they're having to build extra classrooms to cope. And what happens then is the 2 feeder schools, Ladies Ear Werner and Richmond Hill, will feed in to Woodlands, and Woodlands is really bursting at the seams with these young people.
What do you want Luton to do?
I would like Luton to sit around the table and talk to parents and say, we need this. Parents need to have care provision in the town, because the way parents feel are, our children are Lutonians. They're born and bred. When I drive my son down New Bedford Road, he can't say Wardown Park, but he will say ducks. He knows that's where the ducks are. If I drive past Manor Road, he'll say to me, fun fair. It may not be there, but he knows that's where the fun fair is. If I drive up Crawley Green, he knows we're going to our local superstore.
So do you want what you want them to build you want Luton Borough Council to build a new centre? Because there are cuts being made everywhere, aren't they?
I know there's cuts being made, but as a parent, I've spoken to care providers over a few years now, and I have raised and flagged up the fact that Luton, Central Beds and Bedfordshire, the whole county, we have a huge problem for children with autism and children with disabilities, adults. These children are going to become adults, and eventually they've got to say, well, it's time for me to be independent now, Mum, I've got to leave home. Or they've got to leave home because parents are just getting too old, or they can't cope anymore, and we've got to place these people. And I think the county needs to look at itself and say, well, we've got Bedford, Central Bed and Luton, there's a lot of children with disabilities, a lot of adults, why can we not build something here? I've seen some excellent provisions out there in Norfolk, Southampton and Lincolnshire, that actually if we can get a plot of land, these care providers are quite willing to come in and build a college and build some residential homes, build homes or buy homes in the community and start to provide the care that we need.
How many other families have you spoken to in this area in the same situation?
Quite a few.
Yeah.
Quite a few families. I've got families that are struggling for respite. We have one Luton home in local authority home in Luton. It's only one for children's services, and they can't cater for all the complex needs. And parents are desperate for respite, even if it's just from 9 till 5, where they get a break and they can go to that place, or an overnight stay where parents can just get some sleep so they can regroup and recharge their batteries as a family, or just have a normal night out with their other children. And parents are desperate and hugely worried, because they see that I'm having to struggle to find provision for my son, and they're saying, well, what about my child, or where am I going to put mine? He's 18 now, where's he going to go? And if all the homes in Luton are full that deal with learning disabilities, then where do we go? And we have to go out of the county. And you said you placed your mum in a home. would that be local where you live, or not far?
It was. We've moved nearer. We've moved nearer.
Yeah. So basically, if you're placing a child with a disability, or a young adult, or a mother, or a father, whatever, you want to be able to pop in, have a cup of tea, take a tin of baked biscuits. There you go. I'll bring them home for Sunday roast. Take them back home.
Oh, I don't want to bring my mum home for Sunday roast. She's too fussy. I'll get told off for not doing the potatoes right. Lainey, it sounds like a battle. I appreciate you coming in. Send our best to Tony. We have got a statement from Luton Borough Council. They can't discuss individual cases, but they say Luton has a range of service provision for disabled children, both in terms of residential services and services to support young people in the home. Those whose needs are highly specialist and cannot be met locally may be placed further afield. And I just have to say, my mum is welcome for a Sunday roast anytime, just in case she's listening. She keeps saying you're not too old to get a slap, so I have to be on her best side. Thank you very much, Lainey. Cheers for that. 08459 455 555 7:15. Let's get the travel news now. Here's Alan Cowie.
Beds, Herts and Bucks travel.
BBC Three Counties Radio.
Well, nothing out of the ordinary. The M25 anti-clockwise very slow from junction 21, the M1, to 20 Kings Langley, and then a bit further round from 18 Chorleywood around to junction 16, which is the M40. But should be a clear run for you on the A1 and the M1 right now, looking at the motorway cameras, and no accidents or problems being reported. Good service on the trains as well. Alan Cowie, BBC Three Counties Radio.
Thank you very much. Right, it's 7:16. These are your headlines on BBC Three Counties Radio. The chair of Autism Bedfordshire is accusing Luton Borough Council of failing to provide adequate services for young people. Waste company FCC Environment has signed up as operator of a new incinerator at Calvert in Buckinghamshire. In sport, Man United are champions of England for the 20th time after beating Aston Villa 3-0 to regain the title with 4 games to spare. The weather today for Beds, Herts and Bucks, dry with sunny spells and a top temperature of 18 degrees. Coming up before 7:30, we'll hear why a rat problem has got so bad for a St Albans family, they've barricaded themselves in their bedroom.
BBC Three Counties Radio. Nick Coffer on BBC Three Counties Radio.
Every weekday between 12 and 3, I'm here with a little bit of celebrity.
I'll always love being a comedian because it's my job, so I'm going to keep doing that.
I was voted Japan's #1 male vocalist of the year, and I beat out Frank Sinatra. How's that?
Expert advice.
It does sound like it's a mechanical pain brought on by altered mechanics in your upper limb.
Your capital's protected because I'm guessing what you don't want to do is take any risks with the capital itself.
And loads of really great music.
Nick Coffer, weekdays from 12 on BBC Three Counties Radio.
Morning, this is Iain Lee, BBC Three Counties Radio, 08459 455 555. You can text as well, and some of you have done. 81333, start your text 3CR. Excuse me, I'm just reaching over for a cup of tea. I do, but indulge me. Beautiful, there we go. St George's Day. Does it mean anything to you? I didn't notice St George's Day until 5 minutes to 6. There'll be people out there listening to that cursing my name and my lack of support for our English saint. He was Turkish or possibly Palestinian and he never came to this country. Angela says, I work at a school and today is a non-uniform day and everyone will be wearing some red and white. In the school clubs we have various St George activities and in the classes they'll be talking about St George. Tim in Bromont says, I'll be celebrating St George's Day by starting off with a full English breakfast. Good lad. Good lad. And tonight I'll have fish and chips washed down with ale. Ale? You living in the 1600s, Tim. Well done, though. Oh, a big bag of proper chip shop chips. Oh, you've got me thinking. This is the second time I've lusted after chip shop chips during the show in the morning. That's a bit dirty, isn't it? 08459 455 555. St George's Day. Does it mean anything to you? Is it significant to you? We do hear all these calls every year from a minority, a growing minority, but still a minority, saying we should do more to celebrate it. We should do what the Irish do and go mental. It's not even the Irish that celebrate St Paddy's Day anymore, everyone does. 08459 455 555 is the telephone number. Does St George's Day mean anything to you? Or do you think, for goodness sake, just grow up. Get over it. It's not important. It's not significant in the slightest. And also, if you go to the Facebook page, I'd like you to have a little look at a photograph of a bus lane. It's only 33 foot long. It's in the Wixhams in Bedfordshire. and over 1,000 people have been fined in, I think, about the last 6 weeks. 50 quid a fine. You do the maths. £50,000. It's not bad, is it? Is it the council being a little bit sneaky? A little bit naughty, trying to make a few quid? Or are people idiots? Facebook.com/BBC3CR. 3 comments at random. Steve, seems a bit silly having a small bus lane like that, but it's clearly signed so drivers have no excuse. Nigel, fools. Are we letting blind people drive? Or they need to learn the highway code? And Barbara says, should be a red sign, no entry, buses only, problem solved. Well, Barbara, it's written on the ground in huge letters, bus only. There's a blue sign with a picture of a bus, which means bus only. It's a bus lane. Facebook.com/BBC3CR. Now, a family from St Albans who've had to barricade themselves into their bedroom after rats overran their home say they feel let down by the district council. Pregnant Laura Jane Silverman, her husband Alessio and their 2-year-old daughter Phoebe moved into their new home in Holywell Hill last July. Since then, they've spent all their savings trying to get rid of the rats that they didn't know were there. Our reporter Sophie Solaria has been to visit Laura Jane and her husband at their home in St Albans.
So when we first moved in, all of this was carpeted. It looked really nice, actually. It was all in quite good order. But because the rats had gone underneath the floors, they'd basically just destroyed the fabric. There were holes everywhere, even in the brickwork. And actually, having spoken to the council and got a report done, we found out that the rats had actually been there for up to 14 years. So you can imagine the damage that they'd done. One evening, my parents were babysitting and smoke started coming through the one of the lights in the kitchen. They started going through all the wiring, so now there's no electricity in the kitchen here, so we can't use lighting. And actually the pest control guy that came over a few weeks ago said we were this far away from actually having a fire, and so we've stopped using it. I mean, as you can see and as you said, there's a whole load of work to be done, but we've been recommended not to do anything until we find the source of where they're coming from. We're all upstairs in the one bedroom at the moment. We're stuck in that bedroom. It's the only place where we don't think they can get.
Well, I'm joined now by Paul Wilkinson from Pest Force, a nationwide pest company, and also the owner of the home, the voice you heard there, Laura Jane Silverman. Morning to both of you.
Yeah, good morning.
Paul, I'm going to speak to Laura first, but feel free to chip in any time that you want. Laura, when did you first notice that you had a rat problem?
Pretty much as soon as we moved in. Within the first week we started hearing scratching, and we thought, okay, maybe it's just mice, everyone has mice, it's not the end of the world. But then we came back from our holiday a few weeks later and the whole place was just covered in droppings. Phoebe, my daughter's cot, had droppings in it, and they were roaming all over the house. So it was at that point that we realised, and then, as it said in the report, we went to the council, who told us through the Freedom of Information that they'd actually been there for up to 14 years. But we didn't know that when we bought it. I mean, generally you don't do that when you buy a house.
Well, look, Jessica on Twitter has said, how can this be happening? Is there no comeback on the previous owners for non-disclosure?
We did speak to the council about that, but no, I spoke to the vendors as well, and they said they did hear about. They did think that there may be some rodents in the house, but they spoke to the council, and the council said there wasn't anything there. So we didn't get very far with the vendors, and obviously with the council, it's not completely their responsibility to solve the situation. I think our main issue is that it's just not very clear. When you go to the council, it says on their website that they do provide pest control, especially for rats, and our MP as well agreed there just because of the health risk. But actually, they just provide the minimum support and the aid, which is great because it kills the rats and the.
Laura, listen, we're losing you slightly. We're going to try and get you on another number if we can, so I'm just going to hand you back to the production team. While we're doing that, we'll speak to Paul Wilkinson from Pest Force. Paul, these rats have potentially been there for 14 years. Is it common for rats to loiter for so long in one place and not be noticed?
Well, it is. I mean, it's all due to a lot, and it's due to the government cutbacks. You know, with the council cutting back all the time, and like the lady quite rightly said, the council offer a bare minimum. The council do what it says on the tin pretty much, 9 times out of 10. I mean, we're a nationwide company. We've got over 200 technicians nationwide, and so we're faced with problems like this every day. And the problem is, with all rat poison, if it's not put down correctly, a rat has got to have a certain amount each day, 3 to 4 days, continuous before it can take a lethal dose. And what a lot of DIY people do is go and buy a bit of poison themselves, put it down, and they don't have a lethal dose. You know, they'll put a bit down one day and then go back a week later and put a little bit more down, and then they can never get they get immune to it because they never get a lethal dose as such. And a lot of pest control companies that work with the council just come down because they're working to a budget. They'll just put a bit of poison down, all that's sorted. Well, it sometimes isn't sorted, and it can also lead on to secondary problems, you know.
Paul, we also heard there from Laura. I think it's back. Laura, are you there?
Yeah,
excellent. Well, yes, I can hear you now. Thank you. We're just talking to Paul, the expert about this. We were hearing that wires have been chewed and things have started smoking. Again, is that quite common, Paul?
Yeah, I mean, it is common. The truth, you know, if anybody ever had a pet rat as a kid, you know, every so many months you have to take them to the vets to have the teeth clipped, and that's exactly the same for rats in the wild. But they can't go to the vets, you know, so they usually gnaw on hard plastic substance to naturally wear their teeth down, and unfortunately it's usually water pipes or electric cables. Ever so common, yeah.
Laura, do you see them, Laura?
Yeah, we actually took a few videos of them just all over they were roaming all over the kitchen when we got back from our holiday, and so they've gone over all of our appliances. And they're incontinent as well, so they just, they're not the cleanest animals in the world. It's
Laura, you've got a 2-year-old daughter and another baby on the way. As a mum, you must be really worried about this.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, in March, I was so worried because it's rats and they're such a health risk and just dangerous. And they're also quite difficult to get rid of as well. I mean, as you can see from the Freedom of Information documents, they've been there for the last 14 years. And I think previous vendors have just used the short-term solution, which is just a bait. So they've never actually got to the bottom of the problem.
I've seen a picture of your property. You've got floorboards up and things like that. Is that to try and get them?
Yeah, we had to take up all the carpeting, we had to take up all the floorboards and just reseal all of the bottom of the ground floor. But then once we'd done that, about 3-4 months later, they'd got up through the cavity and into the first floor. So now we haven't got any wiring. The wiring's all been bitten in the kitchen, but we can't do any renovation until we've worked out where they're actually coming from. And we can start looking at it.
Listen, if people want to see those pictures, they can go to facebook.com/BBC3CR. Paul, I know you can't really solve this case specifically, but what would someone in Laura's position have to do?
Well, I mean, I don't know too much about Laura's case because, as I say, I'm the managing director and I've not been to the property myself, but I trust one of my guys has looked after Laura fantastically, and what they would have been trained to do is try and look at the bigger picture, try and proof the house to try and keep them from coming in, you know, and not just place bait. Hopefully, look at putting a trapping program in there as well. They're probably coming through the sewers, so my guy down there, he would have no doubt been looking in the sewers, looking at air bricks, you know, see if it's tubed through there and getting squeezing in there to look at blocking them out. Because the trouble is, if you just put a poison down, poison bait is 9 times out of 10 an attractant in it. And so if you're not careful, if you just keep putting poison inside a house and the entry points are free, all you're actually doing is attracting every rodent into your house to die, effectively. You know, so we look at sort of proofing it off and then either trapping them or baiting them so nothing else can come in, so to speak. But
Paul, thank you. I appreciate your time. I appreciate your wise words. Paul Wilkinson, the last voice you heard there from Pest Force, a nationwide pest company. And we also heard Laura Jane Silverman, who is the owner of the home that's got an infestation of rats. If you want to see a picture of a dead rat and some floorboards, then we'll go to the Facebook page, facebook.com/BBC3CR. It's horrible, isn't it? The rats keep popping up every now and then, and it's just such a grim story, particularly when you've got a 2-year-old kiddie and a baby on the way. It's not what you want at all. Right. Let's get the travel news now, shall we?
Beds, Hearts and Bucks travel.
BBC Three Counties Radio.
Yeah, getting busy now on the A1 southbound at the Black Cat roundabout in Roxton, and also now looking slow for the M25 anti-clockwise from junction 21, which is the M1 round to 20 Kings Langley, and then further round from 18 Chorleywood to junction 16, which is the M40. So busy, but nothing out of the ordinary. We've got no accidents or problems reported, and on the trains, no major issues. Alan Cowie, BBC Three Counties Radio.
Thanks, Alan. Coming up to 7:30, here's the news with Catherine Boyle.
Getting beds, hearts and bugs talking.
This is BBC Three Counties Radio.
Or not, as the case may be.
Sorry, I am here.
What on earth is going on, woman?
Oh, sorry.
What's...
I'm having a bit of a mare, hang on.
Well, you're right. Is everything right? Calm down.
Just sing or something.
No,
all right. Okay. All right, do it again.
Looks like we made it.
I'm ready.
Okay, I've got to move things around now. Hang on a second. You're all right, though, first of all? That's the main thing.
I'm fine.
Okay, but can you just give us a reason why you were late?
What
were you doing?
I was doing my job. I was clipping. Ready for the
your
for the 8
nails
o'clock.
more likely.
Beds, hearts and bugs.
Try again.
This is
Don't mess it up this time.
Three Counties Radio.
It's just gone 7:30. I'm Catherine Boyle. The headlines: the chair of Autism Bedfordshire is accusing Luton Borough Council of failing to provide adequate services for young people. Waste company FCC Environment has signed up as operator of a new incinerator at Calvert in Buckinghamshire. And a St Albans family say they've been forced to barricade themselves into one room as their home has been overrun by rats.
Beds, Hearts and Bucks Sport.
BBC Three Counties Radio.
Manchester United are champions of England for the 20th time after they beat Aston Villa 3-0 at Old Trafford to regain the title with 4 games to spare. The main man, once again, was Robin van Persie.
Giggs knocks it back in, and Van Persie's there to score from close range. Oh, magnificent on the volley. Robin van Persie strikes a supreme goal. It's into Van Persie. Is this the hat-trick? Yes, it is.
The Football Association have charged Liverpool striker Luis Suarez with violent conduct for the biting incident with Chelsea's Branislav Ivanovic. Suarez has until 6 o'clock tonight to respond to the charge, and a decision on the length of his ban and fine will be made tomorrow. In League Two, the Wycombe Wanderers boss Gareth Ainsworth has spoken of his delight at signing a new 2-year deal yesterday. Ainsworth has listed the Chairboys from bottom to mid-table after becoming permanent manager this season.
It's been no secret that I've really enjoyed my time at Wycombe, and this season was a tough season, and being bottom of the league and then finishing potentially in the top half is perfect timing for me to be offered and to sign a 2-year deal.
2 local teams trying to make the Southern Premier playoffs are in action tonight. Hemel Hempstead, who are 4th, are at leaders Leamington, and Arlesey in 7th are at Bedworth United. Finally, racing and 11 horses owned and trained at Sheikh Mohammed's Godolphin Stable have failed drugs tests. The horses, including the unbeaten Certify, are now banned from racing after samples tested positive for a banned anabolic steroid following spot checks on the Newmarket base of trainer Mahmoud El Zarouni. And that's your latest news and sport. More from me at 8 o'clock, I promise.
Really poor show.
I'm so sorry.
No, really poor show. 8 o'clock, you going to be here? You fancy turning up for that, or...?
Definitely. Probably.
Go and sit on the naughty news step.
I'm so sorry.
Across beds, hearts and bucks, this is Iain Lee on BBC Three Counties Radio.
There is a naughty news step. It's next to the Paul Scoynes potty corner, so... It's not a pleasant place to be, I hope, by any stretch of the imagination. Morning, this is Iain Lee, BBC Three Counties Radio. Coming up between now and 8 o'clock, 300 people were fined for driving through a bus lane in Bedfordshire, OK? That was in the first couple of weeks. That was a month ago. Loads more have been done since, hundreds. It's only 33 foot long, but I think, I've got to be honest, you drive through it, you're an idiot, right? It's very well signposted. Go to the Facebook page, have a look. Also, it's St George's Day. Did you know that? Are you doing anything to celebrate? 08459 455 555. Well, about 30 minutes ago, we were speaking to Lainey Miller, who is the chair of Autism Bedfordshire. She says her 16-year-old son, Tony, will have to live over 2 hours away because there isn't anywhere nearby in Luton that meets his needs. Well, Karen is from Central Bedfordshire. Good morning, Karen.
Morning.
Karen, you've got an autistic son, haven't you?
Yes, I have an autistic son in his early 20s.
And how severe is his autism?
Very severe. He has OCD, ADHD, epilepsy, everything that goes with the more severe end. And I was listening to Lainey this morning, and she really knows what she's talking about. It's just great to have somebody standing up for parents, and, you know, if only they would give her, the councils would give her the job of sorting out the provision in our area.
Have you struggled, Karen, with getting the help that you need for your son, both when he was a child and now as a grown man?
Yes, I have. And at the moment he is in a residential. He's been there about 18 months, but we've had a lot of problems, and I feel if there had been more choice in the area, then the standards would have been a lot higher.
What would you like to see your council do better?
I would like to see more care providers brought into the area, so parents have a choice and don't have to, you know, send their children or young adults away. Because, like Lainey was saying, everyone wants to keep them close to them, especially when you've got a child that's very complex. You need, you know, more so to be able to keep an eye on them.
There is, people will be saying that, Karen, that there is a problem with funding, isn't there? In that there isn't enough money to go around, and tough choices have to be made.
They can say that, but then again, they can spend money on the new tram line to Dunstable, millions on that. You know, this is something that's going to be, well, become a desperate situation in a few years' time, because all these children are going to be leaving school at 18, which is the normal age, 19, and there's nothing for them. We also need a college in the area, desperately, that they can go to for life.
Karen, I appreciate your time and thanks for calling in. Karen from Central Bedfordshire, who has an autistic son, a young man now, and she's been struggling to get any support from the council. 08459 455 555. Well, we're going back to a story now, which we told you about last month. The bus lane that's only 33 foot long, which has caught and fined hundreds of motorists since enforcement cameras were put up 6 weeks ago. It's on the Wixham's estate in Bedford. Now, when we mentioned this the last time, only 300 people were fined in the first 2 weeks. Only 300. That's quite significant. 50 quid a fine. Well, in the last 4 weeks, a further 655 people have been fined, taking the total amount to just under 1,000, 50 grand. Well, we've been asking if the people driving down the bus lane are just idiots. Our reporter Justin Dealey has been back to the bus lane speaking to this gentleman.
Well, Ian, you're a cyclist. You come down this road every single day. The people that are being caught are nearly 1,000 now. Be honest, are they just idiots?
Yeah. It's clearly obvious that it's a bus lane, and they clear access to turn around if they need to, if they still think they can go through. If they want to go through, then, well, they're just idiots in there, I suppose.
So you've got no sympathy for them whatsoever?
No, I drive a car as well. If I see it was a bus lane, I turn around.
So it's that obvious. In saying that, can you believe that nearly 1,000 people have been fined? Bearing in mind it is so obvious, and I agree with you, can you understand why so many people are being caught?
Not really. I just think they're trying to think it is a shortcut, but it's not. They're just getting fines, aren't they? And, yeah, just idiots.
Well, our reporter Justin Dealey is back at the bus lane this morning. Justin, remind us what the bus lane is like.
Well, Ian, it's very, very small, I can tell you that much. It's, 33 foot long. In front of me, I can see the signs, which clearly say bus lane cameras. Also got blue signs, which feature a bus and a bike. And on the road itself, it says bus only in huge letters. And there's red markings as well. So, as far as I'm concerned, it's pretty obvious that this is a bus lane. In saying that, just a few seconds ago, another vehicle drove straight through this bus lane here. And almost 1,000 people now fined in just a few weeks. Clarification on the fine itself, it's £60, but if you pay within 21 days, that goes down to 30. But why so many people are still being fined, I really don't know. The photographs are on our Facebook page and people can make their own minds up, but certainly from what I can see, it's clearly a bus lane, Ian.
Justin, thank you very much indeed. It is clearly a bus lane. Go to facebook.com/BBC3CR. We'll read some of the Facebook comments in a minute. Charles Royden is the Cabinet Member, Transport and Highways, Bedford Borough Council. Charles, why isn't the message getting through?
Good morning. Well, I really don't know. As a local authority, we've got a duty of care at that site. The bus companies report to us that they're concerned only buses should use that road. I know the bus lane itself is only a small bus lane, but only buses should use that road. It shouldn't be motor cars. Cyclists can use it, pedestrians can use it. It's set aside for amenity use. People should not be using it as a rat run. And, if somebody was killed on that stretch of road, people would be asking why the local authority didn't do something about it. So we have to put in enforcement. It's been in place since 2008. It was part of the design of the original estate, so it's a planning condition. There's nothing, we can't pick and choose on these things. People are not allowed to use it. We can't turn a blind eye to people who are using it, especially when bus operators are telling us it's dangerous.
655 people caught in the last 4 weeks. Are you surprised it's that many?
I am, to be honest with you, Iain. Other bus lanes that we have used camera technology in the town centre have seen dramatic decreases. People have just stopped using them, and that's really enabled the buses to get through more quickly, so that you find a lot less congestion for the buses in the town centre now, and punctuality's improved. But this particular location just seems very, very a hard one to crack. It's been in place for a long time, and people have been ignoring it for a long time.
The camera's been there, was installed quite recently, wasn't it? Although the bus lane's been there for a few years.
Yeah, the camera installation started on, I think it was the 11th of March. But there's been a lot of publicity on this. It was in the Daily Mail, it's been on the television, you've covered it on the radio. So people have had a lot of opportunity to hear about it. It's been discussed at public meetings on the Wixoms. So, everybody knows about it. But some people still, I think, would rather take the fine and take the shortcut.
1,000 people in 6 weeks, 50 quid a fine, 30 quid if you pay it quickly, between 30 and 50,000 pounds, a lot of cash. There will be some people going, oh, cheeky, sneaky council making a few pounds.
Oh, no, absolutely. No, that's absolutely not. And you've got to nail that one because, for a start, just administering these fines is costly for us, but installing the equipment is huge. We won't have made any profit on this site if you want to look at it in profit. And any money that does eventually accrue will be just reinvested in other road safety measures.
Is that where the money goes? It goes into road safety measures?
Absolutely. But make that absolutely clear to your listeners. We have camera vehicles operating in the town, going around stopping people from parking outside schools and parking zigzags and pedestrian crossings and things. And people think that's a huge income generator. They have not covered their costs yet. And any income that we get on this site will just be reinvested. I'm already receiving calls from people who live in Shortstown to have their bus lane protected, because that's a huge rat run there, and people are just abusing that. So any income is just reinvested across the town in road safety measures.
Charles, I'd like to have a quick listen to a clip, if you don't mind. 4 weeks ago, we sent our reporter, Justin Dealey, to the site. He was standing in the middle of the road and stopping drivers. Have a listen to this.
Well, I think really I just follow other people. Other people come down here and I just do what they do, really.
Now, Adam, earlier you drove through the bus lane cameras. I tried to stop you, but we were live on air at the time. Looking at that now, it says bus only there, and it also says bus lane cameras. Are you looking at that thinking, how did I miss it?
Yeah, I am actually. Where are the cameras then?
The camera is just there. You can see the camera just there to our right-hand side, but it clearly says bus only. That's marked clearly on the road, and it says bus lane cameras. As somebody who does quite a bit of driving for a living, how could you miss it?
I don't know, honestly. I wasn't really looking at it. I was just carrying down the lane by the way the sat-nav brought me, so I'm not turning around now.
Well, I was going to say, make sure you turn round. You don't want 2 fines in one day. I've saved you a few quid there.
I'm not turning around now, yeah.
Charles, are drivers idiots?
Well, I do think drivers do need to question whether or not they are actually aware when they're driving of the dangers on the road. We have bus companies, bus operators saying to us, this is a dangerous spot because people should not be trying to get through the bus lane when buses are coming along. And so, people have a responsibility to behave very carefully in what is a dangerous weapon, a vehicle. And if they're driving along oblivious to what's going on around them, then they are a danger to other road users. And so, please wake up. I've got a concern as Transport and Highways portfolio holder. I've got people who are parking on zigzags outside schools repeatedly, putting children's lives at risk. We've got people who are parking on lines approaching pedestrian crossings. That puts people's lives at risk. And just, parking on verges and wrecking our grass. For goodness sake, if you've got a motor vehicle, behave responsibly and think about other road users as well.
One final question, Charles. If you must be rubbing your hands ever so slightly with glee, because if this continues, you're looking at just under 9,000 people a year going through there. Even if they paid the £30 fine, that's £250,000 in a year you could make.
Yeah, it's interesting you say that, but the amount of money that it costs us to invest in road safety is huge. If we want to put up one set of average speed cameras, it can cost over £50,000. And we're installing average speed cameras across the borough now, as you probably realise. We've put them in Milton Ernest, and we've seen at Milton Ernest a drop in speeding by 85%. So if we can stop speeding on our residential roads, that would be fantastic. So any money that we make, and I can just give your listeners a reassurance, any money that we make is reinvested in road safety. It doesn't go to having a party at the end of the day where we celebrate, because the last thing that we want to do is see people getting fined for using the road.
Charles Royden, I appreciate your time this morning. Thank you very much indeed. 08459 455 555. Normally, I kind of err on the side of the driver. I have very little sympathy for any of these people that have driven through this bus lane. Go to the Facebook page, facebook.com/BBC3CR. It is one of the best signed, illuminated bus lanes I've ever seen in my life. Go and have a look. We'll read out some of your comments shortly. 7:45 is the travel news now. Alan Cowie.
Herts and Bucks travel.
BBC Three Counties Radio.
Well, having a look at the motorways, the M1 should be a clear run for you right now, and the A1M with no major problems. Just slight delays on the A1 southbound between Eaton-Soken and the Black Cat roundabout at Roxton. As for the M25, well, anti-clockwise delays between junction 28, which is the A12, to junction 25 at the A10. That section's taking about 40 minutes right now. And then anti-clockwise delays from 18 Chorleywood round to junction 15, which is the M4, so heading towards Heathrow. And just check the trains. We've got a good service on all lines right now. Alan Cowie, BBC Three Counties Radio.
Thank you very much, Alan. Right, 7:46 exactly. It's Tuesday, the 23rd of April. I'm Iain Lee, and these are your headlines on BBC Three Counties Radio. The chair of Autism Bedfordshire is accusing Luton Borough Council of failing to provide adequate services for young people. Waste company FCC Environment has signed up as operator of a new incinerator at Calvert in Buckinghamshire. In sport, Manchester United are champions of England for the 20th time after beating Aston Villa 3-0 to regain the title with 4 games to spare. Coming up, 2 separate terror plots not being linked are dominating international headlines this morning. We'll find out more before 8 o'clock, but before that, here's the weather with Kate Kinsella.
Beds, Herts and Bucks weather.
BBC Three Counties Radio.
Good morning. Well, it's a beautiful start to the day, temperature-wise and sunshine-wise. Already outside across all 3 counties, we're around 8 or 9 Celsius, and the temperature is set to climb much higher than that. A little bit of cloud around, some of it high, though, so some hazy sunshine, but that's going to come and go through the course of the day, thickening a little, just like it did yesterday, this afternoon. Temperature, though, is certainly feeling a little bit warmer. The maximum we can expect later on today, 16 Celsius, perhaps more than that locally, up to 18 or 19. That's 64 degrees in Fahrenheit, particularly in the towns in built-up areas such as Watford, for example, Luton. We can expect the temperature to get up as high as 18. Now, overnight tonight, it stays mild. Cloud increases as we get towards dawn, but the minimum temperature 9 Celsius, 48 degrees in Fahrenheit. Because of the cloud coverage, it's a rather grey start to Wednesday, but we will get 1 or 2 spots of rain mixed in there, but barely noticeable at all, and some sunshine or some sunny spells expected later on in the morning throughout tomorrow afternoon. Feeling very warm again tomorrow. The maximum temperature 19 Celsius, that's 66 degrees in Fahrenheit. And that's your forecast.
Thank you very much.
Every weekday from 3, Roberto Perrone with the best local news stories.
I get to meet a lot of really interesting people with the most amazing stories.
We feel as if we haven't been taken notice of.
Yesterday we heard that the bank had gone, but today it's still there.
The cat got delivered up in Kabul. You should be back in the UK in 2 months.
With the best local talking points.
Do some of the bakers have flapjack fights?
No, of course not, Roberto. Well, not in our shops.
Roberto Perrone, weekdays from 3.
On BBC Three Counties Radio.
I am intrigued by this bus lane story. 1,000 people have driven through this bus lane in the last 6 weeks. 30 quid, 50 quid a fine, £40,000 is what you're looking at. Some of your comments on Facebook. I live in London and quite a few bus lanes are not marked as clearly as this. Sorry, no excuse. If you don't see this, you're not concentrating on the road. That's from Iris. Rob says, didn't you cover this story weeks ago? We did. We've followed it up. If people can't read, tough. I demand the council to use some of the profits from this lane to have a good knees up. They probably didn't expect that many fines, so enjoy the extra money on a jolly. Drake says, given the number of penalties issued, the council should get the site independently reviewed to check that it does conform to legal requirements. Otherwise, we could be heading for a repeat of Hemel. Still get wound up thinking about the moronic councillor who blamed the drivers despite being shown in court to be wrong. Just a little point, they're not fines, they are penalty charges. Drake, I suspect it is quite legal, Drake. I know what you mean about the Hemel thing, but I suspect this is quite legal. St George's Day today. Are you celebrating it? Are you doing anything about it? It's a minority, a growing minority, that seem to get excited about it. I didn't even know it was St George's Day 2 hours ago. Well, David is from Abbots Langley. Morning, David.
Good morning.
David, are you celebrating St George's Day?
Yeah, the church bells are going to ring at 3:30 for about 3 hours this afternoon.
Oh, blimey. That's when I have my little kip in the afternoon. I'd be well upset if it happened near me.
No, it's lovely.
Are you a campanologist yourself, or will you just be enjoying it?
No, I'm a campanologist. I'm a bell ringer.
Oh, you see. Can I ask you a question, David? These are the big bells in the church with the bits of rope.
Yeah.
If you held on to that, do you get pulled up into the belfry?
No.
Oh, that's just a myth from children's television, is it?
Yes.
David, but why is St George so important to you? He was Turkish, wasn't he? He didn't even come to this country.
Turkish, yeah.
But so why are you celebrating a dead Turk?
Well, the English way of doing things, we want to be part of it. Yeah. We enjoy it. We like ringing for special occasions.
Oh, of course. I love the sound of church bells, and you put forward a very strong argument for the celebration of St George's Day, David, so thank you very much for that. We are celebrating a dead Turk. Possibly Palestinian, there is some debate over that. Why does it mean so much to you? It's odd, isn't it? It is odd. I don't... How do I say this without getting the abuse that I've had when I've said this before? I can't, so I'll just say it. I do find patriotism an odd thing. It's a quirk of fate, isn't it, that we're all born in England. And it's... Hey, listen, whoa, I'm not knocking it. England's great. I'd much rather live here than Iran or I don't know, the Lebanon or France. But it's a quirk of fate. It's just that our parents happen to have a fumble in England that we're born here. I don't get the patriotism. I like England. I like Britain. I think it's much better than so many other countries in the world. Not as good as some of the other countries in the world. But to go around waving a flag, celebrating St George... is this treason that I'm saying? A couple of weeks ago we had a caller suggested I should be hung. It's hanged for treason. I hope I don't get any more death threats today. One death threat a month is all I can handle these days. I'm getting old. 08459 455 555. St George's Day, what does it mean to you? Is it important? Is it significant in the slightest? Or do you just kind of scratch your head and think, really? Loads of men smoking pipes, watching Morris dancers and drinking real ale. I can't think of anything worse. Now, two separate terror plots not being linked are dominating international headlines this morning. In Canada, police say they've stopped a plan backed by Al-Qaeda to derail a passenger train near Toronto. Meanwhile, in the US, officials say the man suspected of the Boston Marathon bombings managed to speak during a first court appearance in his hospital room. Our reporter, James Alexander, has the latest on these developing stories. Morning, James. Now, details of this terror plot in Canada, they emerged late last night. I was listening to the radio in bed and about 8:15 was when I first heard about it. What more do we know?
Yeah, good to hear you were in bed nice and early.
Yes.
Canadian police saying they've stopped a plot to blow up a passenger train, possibly travelling between Toronto and New York. The target may have been a bridge near Niagara Falls, but this hasn't been confirmed. The authorities said the plan was still in its early stages and an attack wasn't imminent. 2 men have been arrested and charged after 8 months surveillance. Here's the Assistant Commissioner of Police, James Malizia.
The RCMP is alleging that Shihab Esagayr and Raid Jasser were conspiring to carry out an Al-Qaeda-supported attack against a Via passenger train. Had this plot been carried out, it would have resulted in innocent people being killed or seriously injured.
Now, the two men aren't Canadian citizens, but the authorities haven't said yet where they were from. They're due to appear in court later today, so Ian, we should get more details then.
Now, this terror plot in Canada, it seems interesting that the apparent involvement of Al-Qaeda extremists in Iran, because I thought Iran was at loggerheads with the Al-Qaeda.
Yeah, it is surprising this, because Iran is a Shiite Muslim country. Al-Qaeda is a fiercely Sunni Muslim group. These two have not always got along, not seen eye to eye, and this will now raise questions about whether Iran is sheltering Al-Qaeda extremists, though the Canadians keen to stress they don't believe the plot was directed or sponsored by Iran. Canadian police have also ruled out any link with the Boston bombings.
Now, talking about the Boston bombings that's been dominating the news, I understand that the surviving suspect has appeared in court, but the court came to his hospital room.
Yeah, unusual this. The charges put to Jakar Tsarnaev as he lay in his hospital bed, even though he was in hospital. This described as his first court appearance. A magistrate was there. The charges put to him were these: use of a weapon of mass destruction and malicious destruction of property resulting in death. If convicted, he could face life in prison or even the death penalty. Despite that gunshot wound to his throat, the suspect managed to speak once. He said no when asked if he could afford a lawyer. He apparently understood what was going on. He's said to be in a serious but stable condition. His next court appearance is at the end of May.
Anything more being said about his possible motivation?
No, it's interesting. We've got this lengthy criminal complaint filed against him, lots of detail, the timeline, the suggestion being the brothers acted alone, but no mention of their possible reasons for attacking the Boston Marathon. But it is being reported in the US. Officials there do now believe the men, known to be Muslims, were motivated by religion.
Lots of coverage, lots of commentary everywhere on the news, in the papers, on Twitter and Facebook. His mum thinks he's innocent. Can he really get a fair trial?
Yeah, you know, his mum thinks he's innocent, but it seems just about nobody else does. It's hugely prejudicial. A lot of this commentary wouldn't be allowed in Britain. The American authorities are keen to make sure that he does get a fair trial. Some Republican lawmakers in the States have called for him to be treated as an enemy combatant and tried in a military tribunal. But the White House says as an American citizen, he will be tried in a civilian court with a civilian jury, and he will have the usual presumption that he's innocent till proven guilty.
James, thank you very much indeed. That's our reporter James Alexander on two, stories that just keep on going. We should have a quick look at the front pages of the newspaper. We've not got long, so let's rush through these. Hospital hotels for 30,000 elderly patients. This is the Telegraph. Elderly patients will be sent to hospital hotels to recover from illnesses or falls under plans to ease the so-called bed blocking on NHS wards. New mums and stroke patients could also use such services, which will be run by hotel chains. Well, that sounds all right, doesn't it? That sounds fantastic. We will scrap planned petrol duty increases, says Cameron. The Guardian. Death penalty threat for Boston bombing suspect. Defence put at risk by EU poll, Germany tells Cameron. The Independent. Rupert Murdoch's doing transcendental meditation. I can do that. I'm not going to tell you what my mantra is. It's a secret. But I did that. I can do a little bit of that. It's very... Is that a real picture of him sat in a sort of cross-legged lotus position pose? Google boss. Who cares how much tax we pay? Calls for Eric Schmidt to lose job as government advisor after defence of avoidance strategy. And very quickly, the Daily Express, blood pressure breakthrough, new operation replaces need for no, it doesn't. And Daily Mail, banned slimming drug kills medical student. If you're a fan of Broadchurch, it finished last night. Don't turn to page 3 of the Daily Mail. It'll tell you who did it. Didn't see... Was it any good, that? It got quite good reviews. Oh, I don't know. It got quite good reviews. Anyway, don't turn to page... If you've taped it, if you've got it on a video... on your Sky Plus or your TiVo or your YouView, don't turn to page 3 of the Mail. It'll ruin it for you. And The Sun... champions. These guys are bonkers. There's a footballer eating a severed arm in tribute to Suarez biting that gentleman the other day. That's the front page of Britain's biggest selling newspaper. Right, travel news now. Here's Alan Cowie. Kath, get ready, we're coming to the news soon.
Beds, Herts and Bucks travel.
BBC Three Counties Radio.
Well, just short delays on the M1 southbound between junction 11, Dunstable, and junction 9. That's at Redbourne. It's going to take about 10 to 15 minutes or so. The M25 anti-clockwise is slow from junction 27, the M11 round to junction 25, the A10, and also anti-clockwise from 18 Chorleywood round to 15, which is the M4, average speed about 20 miles per hour, and the A1 southbound short delays from Eton Soken towards the Black Cat roundabout in Roxton. Alan Cowie, BBC Three Counties Radio.
Alan, thank you very much indeed. Right, coming up in the last hour of the show, more on this mum who's calling for Luton Borough Council to do more for her son who's got autism. Also, St George's Day. Does it mean anything to you? We spoke to a bell ringer earlier on who put up a strong defence for celebrating St George's Day, even though St George was Turkish, possibly Palestinian, and never came to England. We'll discuss that and more after the news.
Getting beds, hearts and bucks talking.
This is BBC Three Counties Radio.
Good morning, it's 8 o'clock. I'm Catherine Boyle. The headlines. Autism charity calls for more care in Bedfordshire. Boston suspect on WMD charge, and 1,000 people caught out at Bedfordshire Bus Lane.
BBC Three Counties Radio.
The chair of Autism Bedfordshire is accusing Luton Borough Council of failing to provide adequate services for young people. Lainey Miller fears she'll have to send her teenage son to a care home in Norfolk, as facilities in Bedfordshire are either unsuitable or unavailable.
A lot of those are full.
Right.
And some of those, Tony, is not compatible. When you're looking at a residential setting, you have to look at the people that are already living there, or, you know, the dynamics of the group. And if he's not compatible, then he can't go in.
The surviving suspect in the Boston bombings has been charged with possessing a weapon of mass destruction. If convicted, Zokhar Tsarnaev could receive the death penalty. 2 men have been charged in Canada with planning a major terrorist attack on a train. The suspects were arrested in Montreal and Toronto on Monday. Police say the men weren't Canadian citizens and had been supported by Al-Qaeda in Iran. James Malaysia from the Royal Canadian Mounted Police said the threat hadn't been imminent.
I want to reassure our citizens that while the RCMP believed the accused had the capacity and intent to carry out these criminal acts, there was no imminent threat to the general public, rail employees, train passengers, or infrastructure.
Back home, a woman's been robbed at knife point by 3 teenagers in Houghton Regis. Police are appealing for witnesses to the incident, which happened on Friday afternoon in the alleyway between Hillborough Crescent and Edywick Avenue. All 3 offenders were white and in their late teens. One had a scar on his cheek and spoke with an Irish accent. A St Albans woman claims she's been forced to barricade her family into one room as her home is overrun by rats. Laura Jane Silverman is urging the District Council to do more to help after their first attempt at exterminating the pests failed. The signs are in plain sight. It's been pointed out in local and national press, and we've even sent our reporter down there in a fluorescent jacket. But still, people keep driving in the bus lane at Wixham's. Almost 1,000 motorists have been fined up to £60 each after being caught since the council installed an enforcement camera 6 weeks ago. Charles Royden is the Cabinet Member for Transport and Highways at Bedford Borough Council. He rubbished the suggestion it was just a revenue-raising exercise.
Oh, no, absolutely. No, that's absolutely not. And you've got to nail that one because, for a start, just administering these fines is costly for us, but installing the equipment is huge. We won't have made any profit on this site if you want to look at it in profit, and any money that does eventually accrue will be just reinvested in other road safety measures.
In sports, Sir Alex Ferguson held his unbelievable and phenomenal striker Robin van Persie after the Dutchman's hat-trick helped wrap up the Premier League title. Van Persie scored all the goals in the 3-0 win over Aston Villa at Old Trafford, which sealed a 20th league title for United and a 13th for Ferguson himself. The weather dry with sunny spells and a top temperature of 18 degrees Celsius, that's 64 Fahrenheit. There's more news and sport online at bbc.co.uk/3 counties. BBC Three Counties Radio, first for news. I've said sorry.
Morning, this is Iain Lee, BBC Three Counties Radio. If you've only just tuned in, you won't have any idea what that borderline bullying from me was about. But trust me, it was justified. 3 minutes past 8, Tuesday the 23rd of April. Apparently it's a nice day out. Oh, I can't wait. Lots coming up between now and 9 o'clock. We've just had a very interesting phone call as well. More on that anon. But some of the things we've got coming up include a Bedfordshire mum is angry that her son, who has autism, will have to receive care 2 hours away from home because she says there's nowhere in Luton for him to go. Well, we've heard her story and we're going to speak to her MP to find out whether anything can be done to help. Do you remember we told you that almost 300 people had been fined for driving through a bus lane in Bedfordshire that's only 33 foot long? That was a month ago. And since then, loads more people have driven through it, literally hundreds. Do you think they're just stupid, or is the council using it as a cash cow? And we'll hear why a rat problem has got so bad for one St Albans family that they barricade themselves in their bedroom. Lots of ways to get in touch. Facebook.com/BBC3CR. You can see pictures of bus lanes of rats on there. You can send me a text, 81333. Start your text 3CR. Or you can give me a call, 08459 455 555.
BBC Three Counties Radio.
A Bedfordshire autism charity says Luton Borough Council are not providing adequate services for children and young adults with autism. Chair of Autism Bedfordshire, Lainey Miller, says her 16-year-old son, Tony, who is on the severe end of the autistic spectrum, will have to live over 2 hours away because there isn't anywhere nearby that meets his needs. She says other families in the area are also suffering from the same problem and are having to home their children in places as far away as Devon and Norfolk. Well, I spoke to Lainey earlier on in the show. There are some residential centres in Bedfordshire. Why can't he go to those?
A lot of those are full.
Right.
And some of those, Tony, is not compatible. When you're looking at a residential setting, you have to look at the people that are already living there or, you know, the dynamics of the group. And if he's not compatible, then he can't go in.
So where is the nearest place he could go then?
Well, when it came to looking at provision, I have looked at Northampton. I've looked at Lincolnshire, I've looked at Kent, I've looked at Southampton, and I've looked at Norfolk because there's nowhere in Luton, Central Beds or Bedfordshire that could really cater for his needs.
I'm going to ask a question, okay? Are you being too fussy?
No. What parents want in this town is that Luton is a hotspot for autism, and there's no denying that. Children's services are bursting with children that are autistic, and not just autistic, but Down syndrome, cerebral palsy. We have a really high ratio of disabled children, and our two special schools in Luton clearly state that when they're having to build extra classrooms to cope. And what happens then is the two feeder schools, Lady Zia Werner and Richmond Hill, will feed in to Woodlands, and Woodlands is really bursting at the seams with these young people.
Well, that was earlier on in the show. Joined now by Labour MP for Luton North, Kelvin Hopkins, and also Julia Mooney from Luton, who's having similar issues with her 18-year-old son who has Down syndrome. Good morning to both of you.
Morning. Good morning.
Julia, explain the situation with your son.
My son has Down syndrome and he has challenging behaviour, learning difficulties. Pretty much just worried about the future for him. He's going into adult care. He's already had some respite from Luton Council, but it wasn't local. They couldn't offer me local because they couldn't deal with my son. And I'm worried that when he goes in to be an adult, he will be placed a long way away.
How far away was the respite care?
It was probably about half an hour's drive, but when he's done a long day at school, he's having to do that. He's also not local, so on a long-term basis, that's not practical for me to be able to do the things I need to do, work, take care of my family, to happen to be going that distance, but the provider that was there wasn't suitable for him. I want him to be in his hometown. I want him to be where I can go and see him. I do have the prospect of maybe putting him residential, and there isn't anywhere that's local. I don't want to be doing a 3-hour journey to go and see my son. I need him to be nearby, and I don't think that's an unreasonable request.
Would you consider moving to be near your son, Julia? Is that an option?
Well, I would move near, but how do I know that we could move? I move my other children, I move to somewhere, and then it doesn't work out. Why do I have to move? Why does my husband have to forego his job to move to somewhere that just caters for one person? And we're a family. We should be able to live in our own hometown and do the things we need to. I'm not asking for masses. There is a lack of resources for him and lots of other young people.
There might be some people listening, Julia, who might think, well, if you have to move for your son, then that's what families do, don't they? What would you say to them?
No, definitely. And if I could be guaranteed somewhere, then and they could pay the money for me to move, then that's fine. I don't have the money to up and move. Why do I have to tell my husband he has to forego his job to move?
Because it's your
situation.
Because it's your son.
Yeah, you're right. It is my son, but this is his hometown, and I'm not asking for any more than other parents. No, it's just there is lack of resources.
Kelvin, you say that the services for young adults with autism, in particular, in the town, is completely inadequate.
Well, I've raised these matters in previous parliaments, and it's not just autism, it's other forms of disability. I suggested that what ought to happen is local authorities ought to get together as consortiums and consortia and provide residential care for different special needs. But this, of course, requires resources from central government. It just can't be left to the local authority, which is constantly under financial pressures. And I think there ought to be a national plan of centres of this kind so that everybody can have a residential care within reasonable distance of their home, and so they can go and visit their children as they need to.
How far? What distance is reasonable? Half an hour's journey?
Well, I mean, it depends how many numbers. I mean, if there are a requirement for 30, 40 youngsters in Herts, Bears and Bucks, you might have the most extreme, one centre, say in Luton, Dunstable, which would cover Herts, Bears and Bucks. But ideally, I mean, I would think half an hour drive would be my sort of maximum. So if we had one for the 3 unitary authorities in Bedfordshire, based, I don't know, in sort of Ampthill or something like that, I think that might be acceptable to people. But
Kelvin,
3 hours is completely unacceptable.
You're the local MP. What are you doing about it?
Well, I've raised these matters in Parliament in the past, and it's not just, as I said, not just autism. I've had youngsters with all sorts of behavioural difficulties in the past, and I've managed to get youngsters occasionally into care homes by a lot of lobbying in previous years. But we need more resources, and I think the resources ultimately have to come from central government. It has to be a kind of national service, like the National Health Service, but with residential care within reasonable distance of everybody who needs it, which means a pattern, I think, national pattern of residential care for specifically autism, but for other different sorts of care as well.
Julia, Kelvin does raise the point of money. There isn't the money, is there?
Well, there isn't the money, you're right, but there are money to be spent on other things. I mean, Luton spent an awful lot of money on Luton Festival that people didn't go to. It wasn't a success. And no, it wouldn't have built a residential home, but I just seem to think that seems to be for everybody, where there's an awful lot of young people with disabilities. All the schools are bursting. These children are going to become adults, and there is a severe lack of thought. These adults are going to be around for a very, very long time. I'm so frightened for my son because there is nothing there. There is the small pockets that the Luton Council are providing, but there's going to be far more young adults with severe learning difficulties and severe medical needs that I just don't think they're addressing.
Julia, speak to Kelvin. Tell Kelvin what you want and how he can help.
Hello, Kelvin.
Hello, Julia.
No, I mean, I do think it would be good if the Luton Council and Bedfordshire and even the government sat down and listened to what us parents are telling you. We don't want strings and bows and whistles and everything else. We just want somewhere that our young people are going to be looked after securely. And the care providers that do this day in, day out, the big organisations, Mencat, Scope, the autistic beds, all these people need to be involved and say this is what we need, and we need people to lobby for us to say these people need help. We're at breaking point as a family, and I know so many families that are in the same situation. I don't want to give up my son. I don't want to send him away. But at what stage, when I'm being violently attacked, where do I go? You know, I want people to help us, to lobby for us.
Kelvin?
Well, I absolutely sympathise and understand it. Indeed, Lady I know very well, and we met before, and I have tried from time to time to help individuals, but I think we need a much better national provision for all this kind of care. And I think also one of the problems we now have is that I was opposed to it, but the idea of splitting provision for children and provision for adults at 18. So what happens, you don't get continuity of care because you go from one service to another at the age of 18, which I think is absolutely daft. There ought to be a continuous care for youngsters right through to adulthood, with proper provision, accessible residential care, and indeed respite care for those who can stay some time at home. All of that needs to be provided. It has to be provided, I think, by extra funding from central government, and I'm constantly critical of government, whichever party.
Kevin, when are you next raising this in Parliament?
Well, I mean, as of today, I will write again. What I'd like to do is perhaps meet together with Lainey and Julia, and we can work together on lobbying government, because I think it's central government that's got to deal with this.
Okay, Kelvin, listen, we'll put you back to our switchboard, and I'm sure they will put you in touch with Lainey. You obviously know Julia as well. Thank you very much. That was Kelvin Hopkins, the Labour MP for Luton North, and the other voice you heard was Julia Mooney from Luton, who has an 18-year-old son who has Down syndrome. 08459 455 555 is the telephone number if you want to give us a call. Right, let's get the travel news now.
Beds, Hearts and Bucks travel.
BBC Three Counties Radio.
Yeah, not too much to report, actually. Just a bit heavy on the A1M southbound at Stevenage junctions 8 to 7, and the A1 southbound from Eton Socon towards the Black Cat roundabout at Ropston looking a bit slow. For the M1, it's coping reasonably well. M25, pretty much normal, nothing major. Anti-clockwise delays from junction 20 Kings Langley round to junction 15. The M4 is patchy delays, and clockwise slow from junction 22 St Albans to 24 at Potters Bar, not helped by the roadworks, of course, which is down to 50 between junctions 23 and 25. And on the trains, we've got no major problems. Alan Cowie, BBC Three Counties Radio.
Thank you very much, Alan. Right, it's 8:15. It's Tuesday, the 23rd of April. I'm Iain Lee, and these are your headlines on BBC Three Counties Radio. The chair of Autism Bedfordshire is accusing Luton Borough Council of failing to provide adequate services for young people. The surviving suspect in the Boston bombings has been charged with possessing a weapon of mass destruction. In sport, Manchester United are the champions of England for the 20th time after a 3-0 win over Aston Villa at Old Trafford wrapped up the title with 4 games to spare. The weather today for Beds, Hearts and Bucks, dry with sunny spells and a hot temperature of 18 degrees. Coming up before 8:30, we'll hear why a rat problem has got so bad for one St Albans family they decided to barricade themselves in their bedroom. 084... Come in, Jonathan, if you're going to pull silly faces through the glass. Yeah, you thought I wouldn't grass you up on the air, well, I did. Pulling ridiculous faces. You a grown man, sort of. In a lovely shade of green this morning. Anyway, that's the end of that. Bye.
BBC Three Counties Radio.
On Wednesday, it's the 25th anniversary of Luton Town's greatest day.
Luton Town have won the Littlewoods Cup!
And to mark the occasion, Nick Coffer is live from the Town Hall steps. You'll hear from penalty hero Andy Dibble.
It was as if the gods were smiling on me and all of us that day. It was right in the bottom corner, but I managed to get there, and it changed things, the pattern of the game and what happened.
2-goal Brian Steen.
It was just delirium, because obviously it's the first thing with major title Luton have ever won.
And archive material from the day itself.
Brian Steen has scored the goal from close range!
Celebrating Luton's League Cup win Wednesday on BBC Three Counties Radio.
Talking nudity.
We were talking nudity,
for some reason, I just asked Jonathan if he'd ever driven naked, and the answer, surprisingly, was no.
No. I don't really like being naked.
No.
I'm one of those people, I rush from the bathroom to put my leg in a pant.
I don't like being naked. I find it very unpleasant.
Do you?
I was talking about Spielplatz, the pervert's paradise. No, sorry, the nudity. No, it's not. It's very nice there. I've been there. I did a little package there. Excuse me, and it was for the radio, and it was very nice. And the people there were very, very lovely, very hospitable. A little bit too hospitable, but there's something I can't quite get the thing of. There were men sat in their bar, legs akimbo, with their dingle dangles. Flapping about. It really, and your eyes are drawn. You're trying to make eye contact with them, but of course you're going to. Oh my God, what have I just seen?
Yes, not it.
Little
so you don't need to see it, do you?
Don't want to see it. I don't want to see mine, let alone someone else's.
Plus, I think clothes are very nice. You know what I mean?
Not today.
Oh, now that's just beastly.
That's rude, isn't it? I'm teasing.
You don't like my outfit?
It's what was the shade of green that Robin Hood used to wear?
I don't know.
Well, that's what you're wearing.
Racing green. This is British racing green, I think.
Is it for St George's Day?
For St George's Day, a bit of British racing green. Look at that.
Yes.
Lovely.
Yes.
Well, thanks very much. I feel like I'm sitting here with Gok Wan.
No, if I was Gok Wan, you would be naked and I'd be touching your boobs.
Oh.
That's what
my bangers.
Your norks.
That's what he always calls it, doesn't he?
Does he call them bangers?
Yes.
Oh dear, what a very, very, very naughty man he is. Anyway, you've not come in to discuss nudity and the career of Gok Hwan.
No, I haven't. I've come in to talk about my phone-in from 9 this morning. Did you know today is it's quite an important day for one particular British individual? Her name is Lindsay Sandiford. Do you remember that grandmother who's in Bali? She's facing death by firing squad for having smuggled in 4.8 kilos of cocaine. Well, the British government has decided not to pay the £6,000 that she needs in order to launch her appeal. And unless she appeals by the end of today, that's it. On the 7th of May, she will face death by firing squad in Bali. Well, from 9, I want to hear your views on this. Has the British government done the right thing in refusing to pay for Lindsay Sandiford's appeal? She has lost her appeal over the British government's refusal to fund her legal challenge against her death sentence. But is it right? Do you feel comfortable that, in effect, we in Britain and our government, that apparently, and as she says herself, the government won't assist despite pontificating that they are opposed to the death penalty, is it quite right and correct that we are just going to leave her now to die? We're not funding her appeal. She is now going to be taken out on the 7th of May and shot. And this is a British woman. Is that acceptable? Yes or no? From 9, I really want to hear your views on this. I know when we spoke about this case back in January, most people... no sympathy for her whatsoever.
Very little sympathy, yeah.
No sympathy whatsoever. They were saying, oh, yeah, we should do this over here with drug smugglers. Kill them.
Ooh, no.
Well, do people still feel like this? Or as the clock is ticking, and literally she's got 1 day left, 1 day until the end of today to save her life.
£6,000 is nothing. It's nothing in the great scheme of what the government spends. I know so a lot of people it is a lot, of course, but what the government spends, £6,000 is nothing. It's odd that they've decided not to.
Well, they had that power to potentially allow her to launch an appeal and save her life. They've decided not to do that. Is that right? 08459 455 555. We'll discuss that this morning from 9.
What are you doing to celebrate St George's Day?
I'm doing absolutely nothing. And I'll tell you why. It's a little bit common. As I was driving into work this morning, the only sign I saw of St George's Day was a lorry with a great big St George's flag all stuck to the front of it, and I thought that's why we don't celebrate it, because it looks ghastly. I'm English. I love being English. Do you know what I'll be doing? I'll be going home this afternoon, quietly, on my own, and having a cup of tea and a nice scone. That's how we celebrate St George's
Day. Just stay there a second. Avril?
Yeah?
Jonathan Vernon Smith says you're common.
Well, he knows that. Yes, of course he knows that.
Are you as common as muck?
Common as muck.
Are you going to be celebrating today?
Well, it's also Shakespeare's birthday, so if we don't want to celebrate St George's, we could at least celebrate Shakespeare's birthday.
Celebrate Shakespeare's birthday, JVS.
You're not going to wave a flag and paint your face and get drunk, are you, Avril?
No. Well, I might get drunk if I get the chance, but... and I always paint my face, as you know, but I shall wear a red rose. I know the Labour Party have hijacked it, but I still think the red rose is a symbol of England.
You knew you were talking to Coco the Clown, I presume.
Come on, Jonathan, you know me.
Is this an ex of yours or something?
Well, I do know Avril, yes. Avril from Harpenden.
You had dealings with her?
I've had dealings. My grandchildren.
Sorry?
It's true.
My grandchildren.
It's true. Avril's about 110. Did you know this?
Yes, I know. I'm not bad for my... Oh, actually, I'm going to celebrate. I'm going to a brewery in Kent.
You're going to a brewery?
Yes.
Oh, drinking real ale?
I hope so, yes.
Have you got any pictures of JVS when he was at school with your grandchildren?
No, it wasn't important enough for me to take photographs of him.
Avril, lovely to talk to you. Ta-ta.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Thank you, Jonathan. 08459 455 555.
Across beds, hearts and bucks, this is Iain Lee on BBC Three Counties Radio.
Rats. Rats. What do you do if rats take over your home? Well, that's what happened to one family in St Albans. Laura Jane Silverman and her husband Alessio have had to barricade themselves and their 2-year-old daughter Phoebe into their bedroom after rats overran their home. Well, so far, St Albans District Council have tried once to get rid of them, but failed in their attempt. Well, our reporter Sophie Soleri has been down to visit the house.
So when we first moved in, all of this was carpeted. It looked really nice, actually. It was all in quite good order. But because the rats had gone underneath the floors, they'd basically just destroyed the fabric. There were holes everywhere, even in the brickwork. And actually, having spoken to the council and got a report done, we found out that the rats had actually been there for up to 14 years. So you can imagine the damage that they'd done. One evening, my parents were babysitting and smoke started coming through the one of the lights in the kitchen. They started going through all the wiring, so now there's no electricity in the kitchen here, so we can't use lighting. And actually the pest control guy that came over a few weeks ago said we were this far away from actually having a fire, and so we've stopped using it. I mean, as you can see and as you said, there's a whole load of work to be done, but we've been recommended not to do anything until we find the source of where they're coming from. We're all upstairs in the one bedroom at the moment. We're stuck in that bedroom. It's the only place where we don't think they can get.
Well, with us now is Vince Matthews, an environment health practitioner at Hygiene Audit Systems Limited in St Albans. Morning, Vince.
Morning, how are you?
Yeah, I'm fine, thank you. I haven't got rats, which is good. What effect can rats have in the home?
Really horrible effects, really. So we all know that rats carry a lot of disease, and they're associated with dirty water. They spend a lot of time around dirty water. So any of the organisms that you find in dirty water, so all your E. coli, Cryptosporidium, Leptospira, even salmonella stuff that they would carry around.
Any disease that I can't pronounce, I know must be pretty serious and pretty nasty. That's the rule.
That is the general rule of thumb, yeah. In serious cases, you've got things like, sort of hantavirus and rat bite fever, but they're really serious.
What's hantavirus and rat bite fever?
Hantavirus, yeah, so that's again, a sort of, water-based infection, but, a bit like the leptospirosis. In serious cases, it can lead to, kind of renal failure and kidney failure. So, without being too alarmist, that's a real worst-case scenario.
All of these different diseases, are they quite easy to pick up? Because rats are incontinent, aren't they? So they just do their doo-doos everywhere.
Yeah, I mean, there is they're perhaps not quite the same as mice, so it's not everywhere,
right,
if you like. They keep something, but, obviously, yeah, they carry those sort of diseases and infections in the urine, in their droppings, even in their saliva. And it's really just about, the pathway of how it gets from that urine, dropping, saliva into our bodies. And actually that's quite easy to do, if you think about if you've got cuts or abrasions or, even if you're touching your eyes or you're preparing food on a surface where they've been or, it'd be quite easy if there's a large-scale problem.
Laura is pregnant and she's got a 2-year-old daughter. How dangerous can rats be to children?
Well, again, it's that thing of the immune system and how vulnerable they are. I mean, I'd be really worried about a young child and a pregnant woman because their immune system is not as effective as yours or mine. So it just makes them more susceptible to picking up infections. And kids spend a lot of time on the floor, and their personal hygiene isn't always the best, is it? So, and that would be something that you've got to be really strict on, if you know that there's a problem.
And what can they do to this family to stop all these diseases and all these germs and everything? I mean, there's only so many times you can detox the table, isn't it, and the work surface?
Yeah, I mean, and that really is, it's got to be a stopgap measure, really, isn't it? The key bit is trying to look at, and this is where your pest control come in, really. It's where it's looking at proofing and, stopping them from being there, stopping them from getting in the first place. So, I mean, I've seen a couple of cases where, people have got rid of the rats or the mice, and then, because they've not solved the problem of how they get in, they just come back in. So you've got a, recurring problem. So you've got to obviously find the source and stop it, and stop them from getting in. And then the next bit is looking at, it would sound like there's probably a nest actually within the building, and then it's how you attack that nest.
if you like.
It's flippin' horrible. Vince, thank you very much indeed. Vince Matthews, Environment Health Practitioner at Hygiene Audit Systems Limited in St Albans. Well, we did invite St Albans City and District Council onto the programme this morning. They declined, but Mike Lovelady, Head of Legal, Democratic and Regulatory Services, sent us this statement. He said, "We are aware of the situation and we are working with our contractors to help deal with this issue. Our contractors have undertaken treatment at this property on several occasions and we have visited the property to try and establish the underlying cause of the re-infestation." 08459 455 555. Let's get the travel news now. Here's Alan Cowie.
Beds, Herts and Bucks travel.
BBC Three Counties Radio.
Yeah, all fairly typical on the roads this morning. Nothing unusual. The A1 southbound, just short delays from Eton Soken towards the Black Cat roundabout in Roxton. Heavy on the southbound A1M around Stevenage. That's junctions 8 to 7. The M1 should be a clear run for you. And the M25, well, it's heavy anti-clockwise in patches from junction 20 Kings Langley round to junction 15 the M4. That's towards Heathrow. Going the other way clockwise, slow from 22 St Albans to junction 24 Potters Bar. That's towards the roadworks section. Alan Cowie, BBC Three Counties Radio.
Alan, thank you very much indeed. Let's keep our fingers crossed that hopefully we can go to the newsroom and get the latest news and sport from Catherine Boyle.
Getting beds, hearts and bugs talking.
This is BBC Three Counties Radio.
Good morning, it's 8:30. The headlines: the chair of Autism Bedfordshire is accusing Luton Borough Council of failing to provide adequate services for young people. The surviving suspect in the Boston bombings has been charged with possessing a weapon of mass destruction. And police in Houghton Regis are appealing for witnesses after a woman was robbed at knife point by 3 teenagers on Friday.
Beds, Herts and Bucks sport.
BBC Three Counties Radio.
Manchester United are champions of England for the 20th time.
We've had the 2 minutes of added time. Referee Taylor's looked at his watch, a second glance, blows his whistle, and Manchester United, for the 20th time overall, are deserved champions of England. Congratulations to them.
United beat Aston Villa 3-0 at Old Trafford to regain the title with 4 games to spare. Meanwhile, the Football Association have charged Liverpool striker Luis Suarez with violent conduct for the biting incident with Chelsea's Branislav Ivanovic. It wasn't seen by the match official, so has been retrospectively reviewed. The Uruguayan has until 6 o'clock tonight to respond to the charge, and a decision on the length of his ban and fine will be made tomorrow. Suarez has accepted a fine imposed by Liverpool for what they called unacceptable behaviour. Mark Clattenburg will referee Chelsea's game against Swansea at Stamford Bridge on Sunday. It'll be the first time he's refereed a Chelsea game since being cleared of using racist language towards player John Obi Mikel. In League Two, Wycombe Wanderers boss Gareth Ainsworth has spoken of his delight at signing a new 2-year deal yesterday. Ainsworth has lifted the Chairboys from the bottom to mid-table after becoming permanent manager this season, and he says now he's ready to take the next step.
I don't want it to be a flash in the pan. I don't want it to be just the passion and desire and the whirlwind effect that I had. I want actually to be known as a manager who's tactically aware, who can think about things, who can make a difference, and when it comes to it, get the point.
And 2 local teams trying to make the Southern Premier playoffs are in action tonight. Hemel Hempstead, who are 4th, are at leaders Leamington, and Arlesey in 7th are at Bedworth United. And that's your latest news and sport. More from me at 9 o'clock.
Call 08459 455 555.
08459 455 555.
BBC Three Counties Radio.
Bus lanes, rats and St George's Day all coming up in the last 30 minutes of the show before JVS at 9 o'clock. Justin Dealey has been by a bus lane all morning. He gets all the best gigs, doesn't he? We reported on it a month ago, and since then there's been nearly just under 700 people have gone through it. Big bucks for the local council, although they say it's not a cash cow, that all the money they make, which won't be a lot because of the investments they have to do to get these things up and running, all the money will get invested back into road safety. Want to have a look at the bus lane? Facebook.com/BBC3CR. And it's St George's Day today. Did you know? Do you care? JVS thinks it's very common. I wouldn't say it was common. I think that's a little unfair, but it means nothing to me. He was Turkish. What are you celebrating a dead Turk for goodness sakes? And rats. One family is an infestation of rats. 08459 455 555. Craig is from Aylesbury. Morning, Craig.
Good morning, mate. How are you?
Yeah, I'm fine, thank you. You have something to do with rats, is that right?
Yeah, that's right. We run a pest control company, ERS, in Aylesbury, and we are finding more and more. We're getting huge amount of numbers now of rats inside domestic properties.
Why the increase?
A couple of things, I think. Local authorities have opted out of carrying out their own pest control in a lot of cases, so the normal baiting that they used to do of the drains and sewers, things like that, doesn't exist anymore. So the numbers are obviously up. We increasingly have a rise in rat infestations and numbers, according to BPCA and National Pest Technicians Association. So those numbers are up. But also the fact that a lot of pest controllers now, we also have resistance as well.
Craig, wherever you're moving, stop moving, because we had you and now we're losing you a bit.
How's that?
That's better,
okay?
Yes, go on, Craig.
Right, I was going to say resistance also comes into it with some of the poisons, but another thing that we've just recently found is that some pest controllers, when they're paid to carry out works, will only carry out, I'm not saying this is all pest controllers, but will only carry out works on that property, whereas what we really need to be doing is actually looking to see where the infestation is coming from. We've recently had a block of flats that have been infested for a long, long time, and we got involved with it about 2 months ago, and we were able to get it under control quite quickly using various methods. But that had been going on for some time, purely and simply because not just the pest control company that was employed, but the company that was managing the actual properties didn't go outside their boundaries to find the source of the infestation.
Oh, Craig, it's flipping horrible. I hate it. But thank you very much. Not your call. I enjoyed your call thoroughly. You sound like a wonderfully nice chap. But, this whole talk of rats is making me very, very uncomfortable. Go to the Facebook page. You can have a look at this poor family in St Albans and what they're having to put up with. Oh, I'm worried I'm going to get rats now. Now, bus lane, 33 foot long. It's caught and fined hundreds of motorists since enforcement cameras were put up 6 weeks ago. It's on the Wixham's estate in Bedford. Well, nearly 300 people were fined in the first 2 weeks. In the last 4 weeks, a further 655 people have been fined, taking the total to almost 1,000. Well, I've been asking this morning if people driving down this bus lane, well, are they just idiots? Our idiot correspondent. I was careful how I would phrase that, Justin. I didn't want to upset you too much. Justin Dealey, you've been there and you've been speaking to passers-by, haven't you?
Absolutely. The fine is £60, Ian. It's £30 if paid within 21 days. I'm looking at the signs here. Clearly marked, bus only on the road itself. Bus lane camera signs absolutely everywhere. Almost 1,000 people fined in 6 weeks. We have been asking the question this morning, are these people just idiots if they are caught going through this bus lane? Well, I've been talking to people here on the Wixham's estate. I've been asking them that very question, and this is what they had to say. Well, Ian, you're a cyclist. You come down this road every single day. The people that have been caught are nearly 1,000 now. Be honest, are they just idiots?
Yeah, it's clearly obvious that it's a bus lane, and they clear access to turn around if they need to, if they still think they can go through. If they want to go through, then, well, they're just idiots in there, I suppose.
So you've got no sympathy for them whatsoever?
Nah, I drive a car as well. If I see it as a bus lane, I turn around.
So it's that obvious. In saying that, can you believe that nearly 1,000 people have been fined? Bearing in mind it is so obvious, and I agree with you, can you understand why so many people are being caught?
Not really, I just think they're trying to think it is a shortcut, but it's not. They're just getting fines, aren't they? And, yeah, just idiots.
Well, here's somebody out on a run this morning. We're standing right next to the bus lane here. The people that are being caught, nearly 1,000 of them. Yeah. Are they just idiots?
I mean, you have to be if you see the signs and you don't actually read them. Unless if you don't own a licence and you never went through the DVLA checks, then so something must be wrong, honestly.
So somebody who doesn't realise this is a bus lane is, in your opinion, not fit to be on the road then?
Well, probably. But I think the council should do a bit more to put signs, especially at the roundabout, the point of entry, just to let people know that it is a bus lane, there's no throughway.
But how many more signs do you need? We've got signs here saying bus lane cameras, it says bus only on the road. How many more signs do we need?
Yeah. No, I mean, they've done well putting the signs here, because it wasn't there before. So I think, people must be idiots.
Now, Justin, when we did this story before, you were offering a public service. You were stopping people from driving down the bus lane. Have you been that generous this morning? Oh, Justin, you're there. Sorry, I had the wrong fader.
The message hasn't got out there. When you think that we're covering this, the Daily Mail covered it, the local papers have been covering it. I mean, when I came here 4 weeks ago, almost 300 people have been caught. Since then, a further 655 people have been caught. Yes, Ian, I did stop in the road a few moments ago. I spoke to a man who works for a breakdown company who, again, didn't see the signs. I stopped him, I saved him £60, and this is what happens. Ian, I've just saved you £60 by stepping out into the middle of the road. I don't want to make you feel stupid, but does that not look like a bus lane to you?
No, it's the first time I've come along the road, so...
I mean, we have been talking to the council this morning, and they're saying they're trying to get the message out there. It says bus only there, it says bus lane cameras. Looking back at that now, do you almost think, how did I miss it?
Yeah, I do, yeah.
Do you feel quite silly?
Yeah.
Well, as I've saved you £60, I can probably get away with it, can't I?
Yeah, you can.
So do you understand why other people have been caught? If obviously you've missed it, you can understand why 1,000 people have been caught in the last 6 weeks?
Yes, I can, yeah.
Oh, is everyone you've interviewed regarding this story called Iain?
Quite possibly, yeah. I mean, obviously 2 Ians this morning. I think at Iain before, but interestingly enough, Iain, the people I have been catching here have been working for companies, the majority of them anyway, working for breakdown companies. So they're obviously following their sat-nav, it's taken them down here, and they're just not looking where they're going. It's as simple as that.
Justin, cracking stuff as always. Thank you very much indeed. Well, Graham Combs from is the Conservative councillor in Bedford joins me now. Good morning, Graham.
Hey, good morning, Ian.
Graham, you cover the Wixham's estate. What do you what's your take on this bus lane?
Well, I think the decision to put a bus lane in there in the first place was flawed. I mean, as I understand bus lanes, they're meant to be to allow buses to get through busy roads. It really isn't a busy road down there. There's very, very little traffic at all, and it doesn't look like a typical bus lane.
But it's been a bus lane since 2008, hasn't it?
I'm not sure quite the date that it's been a bus lane since. I understand that the original decision to put a bus gate, apparently, not a bus lane, the decision to put that in was taken in 1999 when they realigned the old A6. The council said that they consulted with residents, but of course there were no Wixham's residents in place in 1999, and now it is causing people a lot of difficulty down there.
Well, what difficulty is it causing?
Well, people are not expecting it to be a bus lane. People should be allowed to drive along out of Wixham's to get onto the main road. There's no congestion down there. There aren't that many buses going through. Whilst it is signposted, and they've recently put signs up saying that there are cameras in place, it's not an obvious bus lane, and it is catching people out.
Well,
and I think people should look. And I'm not in any way saying that
Graham,
drive through the bus lane.
Graham, I'm looking at a photograph of it now. You cannot say that is not an obvious bus lane. That is one of the most obvious bus lanes I've seen.
No, I disagree completely. If you look at a bus lane, say a bus lane on the Ampthill Road, where it's quite clear that buses have priority, where there is congestion along the road, and buses, should quite rightly be given priority, that doesn't look like a typical bus lane.
Graham,
it's a narrow. Let me describe. Narrow gate.
Let me describe the what I can see and that people have been seeing on Facebook all morning. It's the road narrows. It's painted that kind of red that implies a bus lane. There's a huge sign painted on the floor that says bus only. From this picture I can see one big sign that says bus lane cameras. I can see two blue signs either side with a picture of a bus and a bicycle on, which means buses and bicycles only. You can't say that's not clear, Graham.
Well, it is now, because in the last month or so, the signs saying the cameras have gone in.
Well, the cameras have only just gone in 6 weeks ago.
Yeah, that's fairly recent, because people have been using that since they arrived at Wixham's.
But even without that sign,
I live in
clear.
Wixham's, and we did have this issue when I first moved in. I discussed it with the local police. They said they weren't too bothered about people using that, driving through the bus lane at the time. It wasn't being enforced. They were more concerned about speeding. So people have got used to driving through that. It's arguable as whether they should or they shouldn't. But I think you have to go back to the initial decision to put a bus lane in there. It serves no useful purpose. You have to ask, what is the purpose of it? Are buses being allowed to get through, congested traffic? Well, there is no congested traffic. Is there a road safety issue? No, there's not, because there's not much traffic going down there. So regardless of the camera, you have to ask yourself, whether it is a bus lane or not, was the decision to put a bus lane in there in the first place the right one? I would say no. There is no demonstrable need to put a bus lane there.
Have you received a ticket?
No, I haven't.
Okay. There's most people disagreeing with you on Facebook. Michael, though, is saying, of course the driver should realise they shouldn't drive through the bus lane. However, the reason it's placed there is a bit contrived as far as I'm concerned. Whilst I normally support Charles Royden from the council, not sure I do in this matter. But Graham, listen. It's obviously a bus lane. It really is, and you can't deny it's not. And whether there was a camera there or not, to say people are used to driving through it, you have to, as I found out to my cost when I went on a speed awareness course last week, you have to follow the signs that are there.
Of course.
Cameras or otherwise.
Of course you have to follow the signs that are there. I'm not advocating that people should drive through it. It clearly there is a camera there. My case is that the decision to put a bus lane there is flawed. There is no demonstrable need. Charles Royden is scaremongering. I raised this issue with him in the council last month. He sort of screamed back at me that there was a safety issue and it was an accident. It would be, on my head. I'm sorry, there is no safety issue there. There is no congestion issue. I've actually written to the mayor and asked for him to consider removing the bus lane because I just don't see the point of it.
Graham, would you let us know when you get a reply from the mayor, just to let us know what he's saying?
Certainly. I'm more than happy to do that.
Thank you very much. It's Graham Coombs, Conservative councillor in Bedford, which covers the Wixham's estate. Facebook.com/BBC3CR. A couple of things, I guess. If you know the area well, do you agree with Graham that there's no point in having that bus lane there? It doesn't serve a purpose. 08459 455 555. Have a look at the picture, though. Have a look at the picture. I think Graham was on the back foot when he was saying it was hard to distinguish. It was a bus lane. It's pretty obvious it's a bus lane. It says it in huge letters. The road is painted a different colour. There are signs. Yes, the bus lane camera sign was only put in the last 6 weeks. Well, the bus lane cameras were only there 6 weeks ago. So that would explain it. 08459 455 555 is the telephone number. You can give me a call about that. Also, in the last 15 minutes of the show, St George's Day. When we put this out, I did think we'd get a few more calls. We've had, three calls from people saying, oh, St George's Day, yes, please. I'm having some of that. Does it mean anything to you? Or do you agree with Jonathan Vernon-Smith? Actually, it's dead common. It's truck drivers with the St George's flag over their bumpers. Does it mean anything to you? Is it worth celebrating? Or is it just another day? 08459 455 555. 8:45 now. Here's the travel with Alan Cowie.
Beds, Herts and Bucks travel.
BBC Three Counties Radio.
Well, no significant problems have been reported, but the A1 is heavy southbound from Eton-Soken towards the Black Cat roundabout at Roxton. A1M, slow southbound at Stevenage, junctions 8 to 7. Should be clear for you on the M1 though, can't see any major issues on the camera. And the M25, well, anti-clockwise, it's delays in patches from junction 18 Chorleywood round to junction 15 at the M4. Your average speed is about 20 miles per hour. And going the other way clockwise, slow from 22 St Albans to 24 Potters Bar. That's into the roadworks section. On the train, so no major problems. Alan Cowie, BBC Three Counties Radio.
Thank you, Alan. Right, it's 8:46, Tuesday the 23rd of April. I'm Iain Lee. These are your headlines on BBC Three Counties Radio. The chair of Autism Bedfordshire is accusing Luton Borough Council of failing to provide adequate services for young people. The surviving suspect in the Boston bombings has been charged with possessing a weapon of mass destruction. In sport, Manchester United are the champions of England for the 20th time after a 3-0 win over Aston Villa at Old Trafford wrapped up the title with 4 games to spare. Coming up, it's St George's Day. Woohoo! Yay! Who cares really? Did you know? Are you doing anything to celebrate? Well, JVS thinks it's dead common. What do you think? 08459 455 555. Let's get the latest weather now. Here's Kate Kinsella.
Beds, Herts and Bucks weather.
BBC Three Counties Radio.
A beautiful start to the day. Blue sky, sunshine, some cloud out there, but it's fairly high, so it's just making the sunshine a little hazier in places. The cloud will increase, though, as we head through the course of the day. It doesn't mean the sun's going to disappear. It won't. It should get some holes punched into the cloud, which means the sun will still shine. It's the temperature that's the interesting thing today. It's going to be really quite warm. 18 Celsius the maximum expected, 64 degrees in Fahrenheit. Especially inside towns and cities where it's a little bit more built up, it will feel very warm indeed. Overnight tonight, dry, clear for some of the night, but then the cloud increasing towards dawn tomorrow morning. Minimum temperature down to 9 Celsius, so another mild night. That's 48 degrees in Fahrenheit. But it leads to a cloudy start to Wednesday. Now, this cloud could produce a little spot or two of light rain, but barely noticeable. Otherwise, we'll get some bright and sunny spells. Again, it's going to feel warm. Maximum tomorrow just a touch warmer, if you can believe it. 19 Celsius, 66 degrees in Fahrenheit. And that's your forecast.
Thank you very much, Kate.
You can listen to BBC Three Counties Radio in so many different ways.
On FM
95.5, 103.8 and 104.5.
On AM
630 and 1161.
Online at bbc.co.uk/Three Counties.
And on digital radio. Retune your digital radio now and look out for BBC 3CR.
Bringing local radio to you.
BBC Three Counties Radio.
That'll be us then. Hey, happy St George's Day! Yeah, I forgot as well. Literally 2 hours ago, my producer said, "Oh, it's St George's Day." What? Is it? Well, David Cameron has said he is equally proud to be English and British and that we should celebrate St George's Day. Research shows that nearly 3/4 of the population want April the 23rd to be made a public holiday. I've not spoken to any of these people. Have you? Are you one of them? 08459 455 555. Our reporter, Justin Dealey, has been out in Luton finding out if you know the importance of today.
Wayne, it's the 23rd of April.
Yep.
Any ideas what today means?
Today is St George's Day. It's also the birthday of William Shakespeare.
Well, you certainly know your stuff.
Which is also his death day as well, unfortunately. He died on his birthday, poor chap.
Are you bothered about St George's Day?
I feel that we should actually celebrate it more than what we do. So yes, I am.
We've seen a few flags up already, but do you think a lot of people will just forget about today and not even know what it is?
Yes, I do, unfortunately.
That make you feel quite sad?
Yes, it does, as an Englishman. I was glad to see that we did celebrate on Saturday in the town square, albeit on the wrong day, but there you go.
Well, here's Pam. Pam, it's the 23rd of April today. Why is today special?
St George's Day.
Fantastic. You know straight away, so you must be bothered then.
Yeah, I don't think we celebrate St George's Day enough.
So how will you be celebrating?
Well, street party maybe.
Really? A street party?
Yes. You know, St Patrick's do great things.
Yeah.
Anything for the kids. My granddaughter at the moment's at school. It's non-uniform day and they're dressing up in the period of St George.
I mean, clearly you care about this because you might be having a street party later on, the kids are celebrating.
Yeah.
Do you think more people should be celebrating? Because
yes, I do.
It is a special day, isn't it?
Yes, I do. I think with us, because we're such a diverse town as well, we have lots of celebrations, then why not celebrate St George's? It's part of our history, so...
It was celebrated on Saturday, but as somebody just pointed out, that clearly was the wrong day.
Well, it was, because it's Tuesday, so...
And just lastly, you're proud to be English?
I certainly am proud to be English. Certainly am.
Madam, today is the 23rd of April. Why is today so significant?
George's Day.
And again, you know, everyone I'm talking to this morning knows...
We should celebrate it more than the Irish do. Their St Patrick's Day.
Does that make you angry that we don't?
It does, because a lot of... We wouldn't be here if it wasn't for our granddads, dads and all that.
So your message would be to anybody listening to this today, go out and celebrate. It's once a year.
We should do.
Do you know a lot of people who haven't got a clue what today is all about?
No. A lot of people don't know the date today, what it is. It's not advertised enough.
So why do you know straight away? Is it something you keep in your diary?
No, 23rd of April sticks in your mind.
What's the thing that you're most proud about this country?
It's the men who fought for us to be here today, and they're forgotten about.
Well, they're remembered on Remembrance Day. Bruno Peake is a pageant master who believes St George's Day should be a public holiday in this country. Joins me now. Good morning, Bruno.
Good morning to you.
Bruno, excuse my ignorance. What is a pageant master?
Oh, I've spent the last 30 years recreating historical events. For instance, I organised the Queen's Diamond Jubilee beacons last year, where we had over 4,200 beacons lit across the UK and the Commonwealth to celebrate the Diamond Jubilee.
Why do you think St George's Day should be a holiday?
Well, because it's our day. 23rd of April is St George's Day, and it's about time our government, pulled its finger out and basically gave it as a public holiday, because people won't really celebrate St George's Day, if it wasn't a public holiday. I mean, a lot of people do celebrate it, but not on the day. They celebrate it on the nearest weekend. which is crazy, really. But at the moment, because, we don't have it as a public holiday, people just have to celebrate it when they can.
Why St George? So he wasn't even English, was he? He didn't even come here.
Well, there's a lot of lot of people who think differently about it. It's just the fact that St George is our sort of patron saint. 23rd of April is St George's Day. It's a day for the English to celebrate, as other people have said on your programme. St Patrick's Day is celebrated in a big way in Ireland, but also in America. Where they have these big parades and everything. And it's about time, as I said, it's about time that our government woke up to the fact that, yes, we are British, but we're also English.
Are you proud to be
made up of 4 countries?
Are you proud to be English, Bruno?
Absolutely, I am.
What does it mean to you?
Well, I nearly didn't get into America one day because I refused to say I was British. I said, no, I'm English. I was born in England.
Oh,
so it is something that it's bred into you, I think, and we are a proud country, and we do lots of good things in England, and we should be proud of our heritage, and St George's Day is part of our heritage.
My colleague JVS here thinks that St George's Day is common, with truck drivers flying the George's flag, and it's all a bit messy and mucky.
I wouldn't say. I mean, how on earth you can say it's common? I mean, why pick on truck drivers? Truck drivers are no different to anybody else in our country, and at least they're proud to celebrate the fact they're English, and they fly their flag when they're going all over the continent. And, you have other countries. You have in France Bastille Day, you have in America Independence Day. I just think sometimes, our government has lost sight of the fact that, we are English. Yes, we live in a multicultural country, but we are still English.
What are you doing today, Bruno, to celebrate?
I'm going out for a St George's Day dinner tonight with a few friends because we decided that, we've got to do something ourselves because there's nobody organising it centrally across England.
Bruno, thank you very much indeed. Bruno Peake, pageant master, who thinks St George's Day should be a public holiday in this country. Stuart in Barton, do you agree with Bruno? It should be a public holiday?
Yes, I do. I think I always have done. It's quite surprising. People say it's common to fly the English flag. Yes, I agree. It is common. You see it all over the world. When I was down in Sydney in the World Cup final, there were 50,000 of them. This morning I was watching some golf on television, and there were 4 English flags across the St George's in the top 10 in the world currently of golfers. You see it when you go to Wembley. You see it, there's only one other flag which you see around the world more often in stadiums and at the Tour de France and any other sporting event, and that's the British flag, the Union flag. So we tend to hide ourselves a little in this country. We don't fly the flag as often as, say, the French or the Americans do in particular.
Why is that, do you think, Stuart? It did get, the English flag, St George's flag, did get hijacked a bit, didn't it, by the extreme right?
Well, of course it is. It's hijacked because it's so popular. I mean, you can say that about any flag. Anybody can pick up, you could be an American and wrap yourself in the American flag and stand for some extreme left or right wing principle.
But the St George's Cross was adopted by racists, wasn't it? That's what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, but we can't. The British, the English, can't stop that. If somebody wants to adopt a flag and say this is the flag of the BNP, well, it should be illegal, of course. But we're a free country.
Stuart, we're going to. I just want to squeeze in Tilly from Stotfold before we end. Good morning, Tilly.
Good morning to you. Happy St George's Day.
Happy St George's Day to you. Are you going to be celebrating today?
I'm not, because I'm a pensioner and I live on my own, but I always put my flags out.
Do you? How often do you get your flags out?
Yep. Except for this year. I could not buy a St George's flag anywhere this year. Are we ashamed of being English? What is the matter with people? I was brought up with St George's Day, and I always, in my own little way, I celebrate St George.
Tilly, stay there. Iain is in Luton. Iain, where can Tilly find an English flag?
You can find them on the web.
Tilly, are you on the internet?
Yes.
Iain from Luton says you can find them online.
Oh, right, OK. Yes, I could. I got in touch with one company, but they can't deliver them till Friday.
Oh, nuts. That's no good, is it, Ian? Is there anywhere...
It's not all what it's claimed to be, believe you me.
No. Ian, do you know anywhere in Stopfold that she could buy a St George's flag?
Not off the top of my head, no.
No.
I've even spoken to children in Stopfold.
Sorry?
And out of 4, only 2 knew what St George's Day was.
Can I say, Tilly and Ian, it does seem to be, we haven't got much time left, it does seem to be, it's been older people that have called in about St George's Day.
Oh, thanks, mate.
No, sorry. Sorry, Ian. Well, but do you know what I mean? We've not had youngsters calling in to celebrate it.
I'll say something to you.
Yes, you can.
Where we get muddled up, and the children do today, we live in the British Isles.
Yes.
But we were born in England and we're English.
Thank you very much on that bombshell. I think we'll end it. Ian, thank you very much for your help. Tilly as well, thanks for your call. Very passionate there. Here's the travel.
Beds, Hearts and Bucks travel.
BBC Three Counties Radio.
Yeah, it's been pretty uneventful so far this morning, which is pretty good, really. For the M25, it's patchy delays anti-clockwise from 18 Chorleywood round to 15 the M4. Nothing significant, though. Clockwise slow from 22 St Albans round to 24 Potters Bar. That's into the roadworks section. Other routes looking OK. Short delays on the A1 southbound from Eton Soken towards the Black Cat roundabout in Roxton. And as for the trains, got a good service on all lines. Alan Cowie, BBC Three Counties Radio.
Alan, thank you very much indeed. Well, we had passion at the end of the show, didn't we? Which doesn't happen very often. Tilly, more than happy to celebrate St George's Day, but yet she can't find the flag to fly anywhere. Well, if there's anyone in Stopfold who can help, then do get in touch. That's it. Thank you to everyone who took part. Don't forget, if you've got a story that you think we should be covering on the show, send me an email, Iain, IAIN.LEE@bbc.co.uk. I'm back tomorrow at 6. JVS is up next. Until tomorrow, ta-ta.
Getting beds, hearts and bucks talking.
This is BBC Three Counties Radio.
Thank you, Ian. Good morning. Welcome to the JVS show. I'm Jonathan Vernon-Smith. And on this morning's Big Phone-In, I'm asking, has the British government done the right thing in refusing to pay for Lindsay's